Coming up now is another sparkling Two Mics podcast.
This is TalkSport Extra Time. We are the Two Mics, and it is that time of the week when I say a very warm welcome to Mr. Michael Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
Yeah, very good morning to you, Mike. Thank you very much indeed for that fantastic opener and that introduction to me in this 5-hour special of the Two Mics. It's going to be a cracker. This blueprint, the
I'm
FA
very excited about this. DNA England, it's going to be called, or England DNA. It's going to be given to all these coaches. We're going to have a completely different attitude.
Yeah, well, have you read it?
The game.
Have you read it?
I have read bits of it. Yeah.
Well, it seems. What's the word I'm looking for? And I'm a big fan of the FA, big supporter of the FA.
Former employee of the FA.
Former employee of the FA many years ago. But I mean, I've known from the inside what a great job they do. I've got lots of sympathy with what they have to do and how they have to get on with it. But I have read bits of this report already, and it's to me, it's a statement of the blinking obvious. Now maybe we need that. Maybe we need a statement of the blinking obvious, to get back to basics. Remember once John Major, when he was Prime Minister, decided...
that didn't go well, did it?
No, decided we'd have a campaign called Back to Basics. The reason it didn't go well was because people said, well, hang on, shouldn't we be at basics anyway?
I thought the main reason it didn't go well was because he was trying to kind of give everyone this moral code to live by, and then by one, every single one of his cabinet ministers got caught doing something they should have been doing.
Well, not only that, but I mean, the back to basics was, old-fashioned values and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
And people said, well, we should have started with old-fashioned values, instead of which we started with new-fashioned values, and it got worse.
It got a lot worse when we found out what John Major had been doing as well. But let's not talk about him.
Well, I mean, that's really coming home to roost now, isn't it? With old Edwina in the jungle. And I mean, apparently she is rather a potty-mouthed individual.
Yes.
And she's, how old is she? 68?
She's getting up there.
68?
She's getting up there.
She looks in terribly bad physical shape. I'm sorry to have to say that about a woman, because it's not nice for a man to comment on a woman's bodily shape, but she looks very scraggy.
Not very nice to name her age either, really, to be honest.
Well, I mean, it's published in every newspaper every day on the reports of what's happening in the jungle. I'm a celebrity. So all I would say is that do you remember our friend Tim Miles?
I do.
Who was a reporter on the Daily Mail. He met her once when she was the health secretary, was she?
Yeah, she was.
Was it salmonella? Was that what
the
she got
eggs
done
problem,
for?
wasn't it? Yeah, and everybody stopped eating eggs for a very long time.
And he said, she's the sexiest woman I've ever met.
Really?
And I said, are you mad? He said, no, there's something about her. She's absolutely the sexiest one I've ever met. And he went on and on about her for ages. And he was married to a very sexy woman, wasn't he?
He was, indeed, yeah. How bizarre.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about this England plan, though, because
what
they're
the
saying...
England plan is it worth talking about?
Well, I think it is worth talking about, because what they're saying is they don't want to copy any particular country, but they have copied a little bit from Germany and copied a little bit from Belgium, and they're talking about giving...
What about Holland?
They haven't mentioned Holland. What they have said is that they want to give a philosophy to the players, they want to give them clear direction, they want to talk about going forward. They haven't said anything about going back. Well, you'd think so, wouldn't you? But I just wonder whether, as you say, it's more kind of, I don't know, just administrative bump that they're going to hand out to people, because everyone's going to have to read this report, aren't they?
Well, it looked a bit to me like, as I say, a statement of the blinking obvious. I mean, really, just that. Now, I don't want to demean it and say, look like a blueprint for a schoolboy's code of honour or a schoolboy's code of behaviour, but this guy who's introduced it, Dan Ashworth, I mean, he is being...
Was he there when you were working there?
No.
No,
I think he's only been there about 12 months. Came from West Brom, I think, didn't he? And he's been feted now, literally, as a messiah. A man who is so advanced in football theory, how he's going to bring, a whole new world to English football. And it's all going to be based around the development at St George's Park, which is in Burton.
It is.
On Trent.
It is indeed.
Which is in Nottinghamshire.
You might not want to say where it is, because you might get it wrong.
Is it in Staffordshire?
Is it Staffordshire?
Yeah, I think it's in Staffordshire.
Are you sure?
Burton, Staffs. Staffs,
doesn't
I think
sound
it is.
right, does it?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's Burton on Trent, and the Trent's in Nottingham, so it could be Nottinghamshire. Anyway, it's one of those. But to be honest, Mike, it's something I don't think you can debate at length, because there's nothing to debate. To me, it is a very obvious statement of intent, and an obvious statement of intent, of obvious values, which should be obviously available to footballers.
It's the kind of thing, I suppose, that you'd expect the FA to do, because what they don't do is kind of take care of things on the pitch, but they take care of all the managerial stuff off the pitch, and that may be what it was like when you were there. But
no, this is purely coaching. This is to try and produce better coaches, to produce better players.
Right.
Something we've been seeking to do since we won the World Cup in 1966. We haven't succeeded so far. are, but this is the latest attempt to try and make it work. I do think it's a little bit unfair that in some reports I've read of the development of the FA, Sir Trevor Brooking, who's a pal of mine, I should point that out, yes.
Pictures of you and him together, no doubt, somewhere?
If there were, so what? I don't flash pictures around of me and
all
famous
these people that you say that you're pals with, you're supposed to have pictures of, and you never bring them in to show anybody.
Well, the thing is these days, because pictures are taken on telephones and not on cameras, you can't then get your film printed and then put it in a frame, put it on top of the piano.
You could do if you wanted to.
Well, I suppose you could, but it's a very long-winded way of going around it. Whereas in the old days, I used to get throwaway cameras, go around taking pictures of something, some event that I was going to, and then take them to a Jessup shop, and they were developed into prints, and I'd put them in frames.
They went out of business, I think, didn't they?
Well, Jessup's
don't do it anymore.
Jessup's, the one that I used to use, is closed down in Epsom.
So have you got a collection of all these old pictures that you used to take then?
Yeah.
You should bring those in one night.
Why?
Well, it'd be good to kind of peruse them and see where you've been and see who you were.
We can't show our listeners pictures, Mike. We have to.
Yeah, but I can look at them and
our
describe
listeners on the orally vocal talents that we have.
That's true, very true. But I'd quite like to see them anyway, because then we could talk about them. We could discuss them.
You know, I'm quite impressed about talking about new innovations. We've all got new chairs here at TalkSport. I think they're all
a load of new chairs arrived a couple of days ago. Yeah, it's incredible. There's nothing like new chairs being arranged in a decent way.
I think they're great, and they're very nice chairs. They've got TalkSport in yellow. Emblazoned upon them. I'm going to try and take one home, actually, and put one in the boot of the old Merc.
I don't think you're allowed to do that. Speaking of comfort, what's going on with your foot, by the way? Because you don't seem to be limping quite so bad.
It's not good, but you're getting off the subject. I was saying about the chairs. We did get an import of about 30, 40 chairs, but we haven't thrown any of the old chairs away, have we?
No, so now there's just too many chairs.
We've got a surplus.
We should have a chair sale, I suppose.
A chair sale, yeah, but it's good. Now listen, Mike, come on, let's get back to the subject. The point is, you want to talk about a plan which is...
Well, I want to hear your view on it, but you seem to...
Well,
you're poo-pooing it. You're saying you don't think there's any use. You think there's no point in it.
I didn't say that. What I said is, I think it's a statement of the blinking obvious, but you know what they say? The best laid plans of mice and men are often the simplest plans of mice and men.
I don't think that's the actual quote.
The great generals won battles by pursuing the simplest form of attack.
They did, but they didn't have a great big manual with them, did they?
No, Agincourt was one because we worked out that the field was so small, the entrance to the field was so small, that if we taunted the enemy, that was the French and all their allies, to come towards us, we knew the field was very wet. And when they got into the field, their war horses sunk in the mud.
Maybe that's a good plan for Wembley then.
And I'll ignore that. And what we did is we got our longbow men just to shower arrows down on them and kill them. They had 10 times as many people as us. It was a fantastic victory. But look, I want to talk to you about a very important issue.
What do you want to talk about?
At this time of the year, which has been highlighted by a man who I think is light years ahead in terms of the understanding of football. That's Harry Redknapp.
Yes.
Who has banned his players' Christmas party.
Did he not do that when he was at Spurs as well?
I think he probably did, and he certainly did it at Portsmouth, I think, as well, because he found a couple of, after they won the FA Cup at Portsmouth, he found a couple of young players climbing aboard the bus with bottles of beer in their hand, which disgusted him, for a celebration about a football achievement. Didn't want to turn it into a booze-up. But he was asked today about, the Christmas party. And he said, I'm not in favour of Christmas parties for footballers.
So he's not actually having one. Well, if you were a QPR player, you haven't got an awful lot to celebrate, really, have you?
I don't think Christmas parties should take place in any work environment.
It's already started in London, because as soon as December hits, all the Christmas party season begins, and you get sort of people staggering about drunk.
I have seen people
with Santa hats on and all that.
You have to be incredibly careful how you drive in London at night now.
Yeah.
Because I have seen these drunks staggering around with bottles of wine in their hand. Anything could happen. They could fall over, fall in front of your car, drop the bottle, smash it on the road, puncture your car. They're a liability.
Because these are people unlike you and perhaps myself who don't drink most of the year, and instead they only drink at the Christmas party, and terrible things happen. They get embarrassed, they get into difficult situations with the boss, they get into difficult situations with their colleagues as well.
Total amateurs.
Does this mean you won't be going to the TalkSport Christmas party then?
Well, I feel as a contribution to the well-being of morale and discipline within the company structure, which is what we are.
Yeah.
I should make an appearance.
You should, yeah.
But there's no way that I will be getting carried out at the end.
No.
Like some people I've seen over the years.
Yes, that has happened. There have been several interesting incidents at TalkSport Christmas parties. There's someone not a million miles away from here who had an accident with a glass table at one of them.
Fell through it and smashed it, I understand, I mean, the thing is, Mike, we've had decades of experience at Christmas parties.
We have.
Now, I would usually go because I was in a very senior position and I would go and lead from the front.
Yes.
So my behaviour is usually impeccable. I didn't go for the same reasons that you went in your days when you were a, quote, single man or married but separated or,
well, I had
or
very
married
many
but still on the lookout.
Well, I generally, when I went to Christmas parties like you, I was in charge, so I had to be careful not to kind of embarrass myself.
No, Mike, you generally went to Christmas parties to see if you could find a young lady that you could snuggle up to behind the filing cabinet.
Actually, not true at all. That's entirely
in the darkest
wrong.
Part of the room.
That's entirely
darkest
wrong.
Part of the room, right? To impress her with the authority you exuded on company
wrong.
there.
Absolutely not.
I don't think it is wrong.
No, because my behaviour all the year round had to be impeccable as far as work was concerned, especially if I was in charge of it. The best Christmas party actually I went to was years and years ago when I was living in the States, and I thought I'm going to come over for some Christmas parties in Fleet Street because I always miss out on them. Right? Yeah. And I ended up going to Amsterdam with the Sunday Times Business News. And I rang them. I said, "Where are you going for your Christmas party?" And they went,
"Some tulips."
Amsterdam. We chartered a plane and went for lunch in Amsterdam. It was fantastic.
Very nice indeed.
You're not interested in the story, are you?
I am.
Are you going to just do a lot of stupid accents again tonight, which all sound the same?
No, in New York.
Look at the time, by the way.
In New York one year, I went to the British ambassador's Christmas party.
Well, that was when you were in the pay of the government, wasn't it? No doubt.
That boy needs therapy. Psychosomatic. That boy needs therapy. Psychosomatic. That boy needs therapy. Lie down on the couch. What does that mean? You're a nut.
This is TalkSport Extra Time. We are the two Mikes, and we've got some great guests coming up a little bit later on in the show. We're talking to that man who claims that he's been to Mars. We're talking to a James Bond impersonator as well. And, of course, we're going over to California to catch up with LaDonna Harvey, who's going to tell us what people are making of Madonna's latest picture spread, shall we say.
That will be great. And talking about America, I have got some breaking news here.
Have you?
And it's very, very sad breaking news, OK? There's been a ruling on Tommy the Chimp.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, this is in America. Chimps do not have human rights court rules.
Well, I think that's the most sensible thing I've heard in ages. This is your campaign, so another campaign bites the dust, basically.
Yeah, I want Tommy the Chimp, who's kept in a cage in New York, I want him to be treated like a human being and freed and given a proper life. But this is what's happened. A US appeals court has ruled that a chimpanzee is not entitled to the rights of a human. 3 judges unanimously denied legal personhood to Tommy, who lives alone in a cage in upstate New York. How can they be so damn cruel?
Well, because he's not human. Why should he have human rights?
He's got a brain, he's got feelings, he's got emotions. It's absolutely so cruel.
So what are you going to do now, then? What's the next move for your campaign?
The New York court said there was no precedent for treating animals as people. Chimps do not have the legal duties or responsibilities to society that give rights to humans. The decision means the 26-year-old 26 years of age, Tommy is, incarcerated like a dog.
So he's going to stay where he is, in other words?
Does not have to be freed by its owner. The Non-Human Rights Project told the court in October that the chimp's living conditions were equivalent to a person being kept in unlawful solitary requirement, and so it goes on. I mean, that is...
Solitary requirements? Well, I mean, that's
solitary confinement.
Well, it's a very good ruling if you actually think about the ramifications if they'd gone the other way. If they'd said that all animals suddenly had human rights and they couldn't be incarcerated, then every zoo would have had to get rid of all their animals. Every wildlife park would have had to get rid of all their animals, and it would have been absolute chaos.
One argument put up for the defence, that is to not free Tommy, was that if you ruled that Tommy had human rights, you'd have to then examine the position of dolphins and elephants, who also have high intelligence levels.
That's what I'm saying. And you'd end up having to free them all, and many of these creatures have only been in captivity, and it would be very, very dangerous and awful for them. Did you see that story in the Mail yesterday, by the way, about the chimps who are now not getting the cut-priced fruit from supermarkets?
Terrible.
Because there isn't enough money going around for them to do so.
Terrible, wasn't it? Was it Tesco's?
It was Tesco's,
used to drive off to the local Tesco's and get all the cut-priced fruit and then give it all to the chimps, was it? At a zoo.
It was chimps in a monkey sanctuary. Actually.
Monkey sanctuary, that's right. Yeah, no, they're not getting it. No,
so there you go. So if you
what was the reason given again? The reason was that the price of food had gone up to.
Basically, they said that
giving it away.
Tesco's weren't giving them cut-price fruit anymore, so they couldn't afford to do it.
That's not good, is it? What would the world be a worse place for you if giraffes became extinct?
What?
If giraffes became extinct?
I think it would, yeah. Giraffes are particularly beautiful creatures. I think they're very interesting creatures.
Have you ever seen a giraffe in the wild?
No, but I've seen one in Regent's Park Zoo. In fact, you can drive past without actually having to pay and see them because they're giraffe houses by the side of the road.
Yeah, obviously. But if you've never seen a giraffe in the wild,
right,
why would it bother you whether they're there or not?
Well, because it's not a question of what I do for myself or what I see for myself. What we have is a beautiful kind of world in which there are lots of different animals.
Have you ever been to the Taj Mahal?
I have, yeah.
Well, if you hadn't, would it matter whether it's there or not?
Yeah, of course, because
Why?
The point about the world is that it's full of things which we may either want to see at some point or other, or that should be there. Not everybody surrounds themselves with just what they like to do. I
read that giraffes are going to be extinct in about 30 years.
Why?
Well, because, they get hunted down like everything else, and because they're such unusual creatures and they're difficult to corral, so to speak, because of their size and all that, they will eventually fall prey to predators and all this kind of stuff.
You went on about this a while ago, didn't you? Because there was that giraffe that was transported on a train.
Yeah, that's right.
About. So why do you suddenly get interested in giraffes now that Tommy the chimp has been a lost cause, I suppose?
Well, you see, the thing is, a lot of these zoos try to defend themselves by saying, we're part of a wildlife nature programme to preserve the species. Yeah. Why would a species want to be preserved, to be locked up? It might as well die out. You might as well die out. There's no point in saying there's only 4 white rhino left in the world.
But they're not dying out.
We'll put them in a zoo in China. There's no point in doing that.
Yeah, but they're not dying out. But they're not dying out as a result of anything other than people just shooting them and poaching them. It's not a normal thing that they're dying out. So therefore, we should stop them from dying out.
Well, dinosaurs died out, and the world's not a poorer place because there's no dinosaurs, is it?
I don't think that's a very valid argument, to be honest.
Why?
Well, because dinosaurs are completely different.
No, they're not completely different. They used to be the animals that roamed the world, and they don't anymore.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So the point is the world is not a worse place for not having any dinosaurs.
No, that's true, because dinosaurs would kill everybody.
And the Australians don't, when I go to Australia and I get off the plane in Sydney, usually when I've been travelling business class,
of course, yeah,
which is
do you remember getting off the plane? Because normally it's a very, very long flight. That
it's a great flight, and it's a great airline. That the old Qantas, yeah. I got actually.
Funnily enough, I'm going to give you a test on that because there was that list of things came out in the papers yesterday about how to tell if you've made it, and one of the things that gave you the impression that you had made it was flying first class, apparently.
Oh, excellent. Well, I flew first class back because at the time I was going out with a girl in the PR agency that handled the Qantas account.
How convenient.
Which helped, yeah. But no, when I go there and I talk to Australians who are fantastic, pragmatic people, none of them ever fall at my feet and start gnashing and wailing their teeth and saying, I wish the dodo was back. They just don't.
Why are you talking about this, by the way?
Well, because
I've been sent mad because Tommy the chimp has finally lost his
I think that's a terrible thing. That's a terrible thing. Chimps can live within the human race. Zebras can't. You couldn't say, you couldn't integrate a zebra into family life, could you? You couldn't have one in your back garden.
I very much doubt it.
Whereas you could have Tommy the chimp, you could integrate into human life.
Well, he is integrated into human life. He lives in a place in upstate New York,
in a cage.
And he's quite happy there.
In a cage. Well, he's not happy in a cage. Nobody's happy in a cage,
How much money have they wasted trying to free this chimp?
Well, I think it's disgraceful. But anyway, that's not the issue. The issue is that eventually species are going to die out, Mike. And
when
species die
they die out all the time.
Of course they do. That's what I'm saying. There's nothing we can do about it. And to most people, it doesn't matter. Most children have never seen an elephant in the wild, or a rhinoceros, or a zebra, or
why do you not say zebra, by the way?
Because I say zebra or a giraffe, and so the issue I'm trying to put forward is that isn't there an awful lot of wasted emotion and money and propaganda and emotional blackmail into preserving things that don't need preserving?
I don't think that's true, because in the end, what the point of preservation is that the world is full of different kinds of animals, different species. And
but
why allow them to be killed off by somebody just because they want some kind of giraffe blood or some kind of giraffe burger or some kind of giraffe part of their body which is nonsensical to anybody else?
Man is so advanced now, right? Why don't we just wipe out the snake population on Earth?
Because they're part of the ecosystem.
No,
you
they're
can't
not.
wipe out the snake population. You'd be overcome by sort of mosquitoes.
Kill people. Snakes kill people. Pythons crush people to death, and other snakes are poisonous, and they bite people, the rattlers and all that kind of stuff, and they kill you.
But surely if you took if you took one animal out of the ecosystem, then all sorts of other animals would multiply by ridiculous numbers. So you'd have more rats, you'd have more mosquitoes, you'd have all the things that snakes actually destroy.
No, you wouldn't.
And nobody would stop them from growing.
No, you wouldn't. There's no rats in the Amazon jungle.
Aren't there?
No. And there's no rats in the Burmese jungle or the Indian jungle.
There's a lot of rats in London, though.
Yeah, but you haven't got any snakes in London, so what are you on about?
Yeah, so what difference does it make if you kill all the snakes?
Because they poison and kill people in places where they are. What I'm saying is you could introduce some kind of a virus into the snake DNA, I suppose.
I suppose you could.
So that they just wipe they wipe themselves out.
I thought you were supposed to be an animal lover.
I'm an animal lover, but I think snakes are terribly slimy.
But now you want to wipe out an entire species.
Don't they make you crawl, snakes?
No, I don't mind snakes at all.
Eh?
Don't have a problem with snakes at all.
God,
I'm actually an animal lover, unlike you.
I'm an animal lover.
You're the person who's always having a go at me for not caring about things, and you actually want to wipe out entire species of animals. It's ridiculous.
What I'm saying is, I think that the human race spends far too much time, energy, money, and emotional, baggage worrying about keeping things alive, which are...
Apparently there are rats in the Amazon, by the way.
No, there aren't.
There is a specific Amazon rat. It's called a bamboo rat.
Well, if it is, it lives in the river, in the water, and the snake wouldn't get it in the water anyway. So
I think this whole Tommy the Chimp thing has sent you a bit.
No, I don't think.
crazy.
No, it hasn't. I just have a view on animals and the animal kingdom on planet Earth, and I think we spend far too much time trying to protect species which, in the natural order of the evolution of the world, should have died out by now anyway. Man's just stood in the way and stopped them dying out.
Yo deseo que todos los niños españoles tengan una casa alegre, con cariño y con juguetes.
Now, when it's very, very cold, which it is at the moment, sometimes your thoughts turn to warmer climes, don't you? And I'm not sure it's that much warmer.
Warmer climes, like where?
In northern Spain, but that was a bit of a Spanish reference there, which you may or may not have been listening to.
I didn't. I'm not great on the old Andalusia.
You're not. You're not great on much of that kind of geographical stuff. But David Moyes, of course, has gone over to manage
started speaking a sort of broken Spanish,
and it's a kind of a Steve McLaren moment, isn't it? Shall we have a listen to what he said ahead of this weekend's games?
I know about the B team. I know some of the players. They have been training with me dos, tres, cuatro times, and but I've not seen them play.
Dos, tres, cuatro times.
Yeah, and also...
Who says he's not picking up some of the language?
And then his last word was not seen them train. He brought a Scottish accent, but preceding the dos, tres, cuatars... It was Qatars, yeah. It was very English, and it was like he was talking to a room full of idiots.
Yeah, I know.
Because it was, I have known about the B team.
But it's what a lot of British people do when they go abroad. They start talking in broken English. Let's remind ourselves of Steve McLaren.
Yeah.
I sort of knew when I came here, and Champions League, Liverpool or Arsenal, I thought maybe one of them we would draw, and it is Arsenal. I think we have a young team, and to experience big games, Champions League, Arsenal, at home, the Emirates, will be fantastic for the players.
Yeah, unbelievable. And he said at some stage there, Steve McLaren said, how you say in England.
Yeah.
I mean, like as though he'd suddenly gone completely native, But that is interesting. I remember once doing a job in Portugal, and it was some nutty lone sailor was sailing from America.
Right.
He was supposed to land in Cornwall, but he
missed.
He missed, yeah, literally. And so he's heading off down to the continent. So we had to take his wife and his little boy in the back of a Mercedes all the way down the coast of Spain and Portugal trying to find this guy.
Because you didn't know where he was going to land?
I had no idea, his radio wasn't working, all that kind of stuff.
And where did he land in the end then?
Porto in Portugal. But his wife, who was a girl from Yorkshire, she needed a plug for a hairdryer. She didn't realise that you had different sort of plugs on the continent. I don't think she'd ever been to the continent before. Seriously, I don't think she'd been to Europe.
Right.
And she went into this shop. And she said, hello, love, can I have a plug for my hairdryer?
That's what everybody does. They start talking slower. That's going to make any difference.
So this person in this shop, in Porto, I didn't speak a word of English or like that, smiled and looked at her, So she then gets two of her hands, almost like a gun,
right.
Pointed at her head, starts waving her arm around, going, bzzz, hairdryer, bzzz, hairdryer. And then she just turned to me and said, I've never been here before, but aren't they bloody thick? I mean...
Incredible. Absolutely awful.
This is incredible.
Well, I'll ask you about what happened to the woman in the end, but let's take a call from Joe, who's an Arsenal fan. He wants to talk about Arsene Wenger. Joe, very good morning to you.
Yes, very good morning to you both.
Yeah, hi, Joe. Yeah, very good, thank you. Yeah, good.
basically, I'm an Arsenal season ticket holder, and I went to the Southampton game, and there's just a wave now of dissatisfaction among full supporters. Now, it's been building season after season, and if you saw the match from the actual stand, the amount of boos that were, the chorus of boos that were echoing around the stadium, there was chants for Wenger out, he heard. But this is a very loud collective voice.
I was going to say, is there anybody left now, Arsenal fan-wise, who actually wants him to stay?
I don't think so. I think, the FA Cup in 9 years is not a good return. And I can't see any of the other top 4 teams sticking with a manager who's so tactically inept, so stubborn. And I think at the moment with the Arsenal fans, we just had enough. He comes out with the cliches. Every year it's the same. We qualify for the Champions League. We go to the knockout stages. We get knocked out of that. We come forward. It's not enough anymore.
Joe, do you yearn for the good old days of Highbury? And the reason I ask you is because Liverpool have now just announced a plan to rebuild Anfield. Now, this is different to what happened to you. You moved grounds, and I used to love Highbury. I used to love going down Avenel Road, the hill at the top, walking down to the turnstiles, the marble staircases and all that. Liverpool are going to rebuild, are building on what they've already got. Do you think maybe Arsenal should have done that?
No, I don't think so. I think it was the right move, to expand, to get more money coming into the ground. I think they did the right thing. They followed the business model of Bayern Munich, which is a self-sufficient model, doesn't rely on an oligarch.
Yeah, but hang on, Bayern Munich didn't pay for their stadium. So they weren't hampered for, good 6 or 7 years by not being able to buy players.
It's true, and I think this is why he's done a fantastic job. But if I can quote Charles Darwin, it's not the strongest or the most intelligent who will survive, but those who can best manage change. Now, if ever a quote summed up Wenger, that was it. No one's denying what he's done in the past. No one's denying that he's a highly intelligent and economic man. But unfortunately, in today's modern era, he gets found out time and time again with his tactics. When he first came to the Premier League, he was a breath of fresh air.
He doesn't look like a football manager to me anymore.
No, I mean, funnily enough,
he looks like a chief executive.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. And you wonder whether that, in fact, is his sort of motivation now as well. Because the problem, Joe, as you know well, I'm sure, is that nobody really at Arsenal is in a position to sack him. He's a bit like Alistair Cook as the England captain. I mean, nobody's willing to take the decision.
It's true.
So unless he actually walks away, you're stuck with him, I think.
Well, I don't see him walking away. I don't see. I think real change. We keep talking about change, and in the news it talks about revolutions. I really, really sense that we're on the cusp of something. I almost feel like a dictator about to be, taken down from his position, and it's going to happen. But for that to happen, somebody within the Arsenal organisation has to decide the fans' view is more important than the way that Arsene Wenger is kind of stewarding the team, right?
Yeah.
But that's the problem. The problem is that they've got a board of ex-public school boys who've been passed on. They've given the role, because their father was in the position and their father before them, and all they care about is lining their pockets. And as a business model, Arsenal makes complete sense. But unfortunately, from a football perspective, there's not a strong return. So Wenger's he's going to stay there for the next 2 years, and then we'll see the change. I mean, I honestly don't see the point of Steve Bold. What does Steve Bold do?
No, I totally agree. Joe, have the fans, the ones who think about it deeply, like yourself, got a view on as to why you have such an appalling injury record, particularly with your young players? I mean, look at what's happened to Theo Walcott and, of course, to Wilshere over the last 12 months.
Well, it's really simple. He doesn't invest in the right players. So what he does is, it's really weird, going back to him being so tactically inept. He plays the same starting 11 week in, week out. So you get the same players in the same positions. And what happens is, after about 11 or 12 games, they start picking up injuries because he just doesn't rotate.
Well, is that a bad thing? I mean, Sir Bobby Robson, the late great departed, said football's a simple game. You play your best 11 players at the start of every match.
I think now with football, it's completely moved on. You know, we're in more competitions, and it's about having, as Mourinho said, like for like in terms of quality. You've got a player, within the starting 11. If he gets injured or he needs to come off, you replace him with another class player.
It's a good theory. That's a good theory.
So what's your time frame for this revolution, Joe? The end of this season? Presumably not before that.
Well, I've got a really funny, weird feeling that he's not going to last for 3 years. I can see change happening at the end of this season. I don't think we're going to get fourth. I can see.
And who's going to sack him then? Is that going to be Mr. Kroenke, or is your Russian billionaire going to force his way onto the board, Mr.
He hasn't managed it so far.
Usmanov, yeah.
I don't think so. I think the likelihood is that Gazidis will have to make that decision. I think there's rumours, amongst the board that they are getting slightly tired of things. There's been meetings between the coaching staff. Steve Bold doesn't have a say, according to Ian Wright. He recommended players. Arsene Wenger didn't listen to those. So I honestly think that the dictatorship is about to be destroyed. Now, hopefully it might happen this year or next year. But one thing's for certain: in 3 years' time, he won't be there. And I really hope that he doesn't get put upstairs.
Disaster! It'd be a disaster.
That wouldn't be great. Joe, very interesting call. I think he's right now. There are no Arsenal fans left, I think, who think Arsene Wenger should hang around.
Yeah, you may well be right, but I just don't like the bullying aspect of it all, and
from the fans' point of view?
Yeah, I mean, that banner the other day, this is why I say he looks like a chief executive now, because when he was asked the other day about the banner, Wenger out, basically it said, didn't it? I can't remember the exact wording.
It was thanks very much for everything you've done.
Yeah, that's right. Time to go. He said, I will not comment. I do not comment. Well, you've got to comment to that. Yeah. That's a direct challenge to your position as manager. What are you saying? Are you coming out fighting, or are you hiding behind a smoke screen?
But what he's very good at doing, and he did it again in the Champions League, is managing to get just enough kind of wins to move the team back again for the 15th season in a row into the knockout stage of the Champions League and getting back into the top four. And if he gets back into the top four again, then no doubt he'll be around for another couple of years.
He should definitely choose to go himself, shouldn't he?
He should,
for the dignity of office.
I think he should have gone, actually, after winning the FA Cup. That would have been a good time to go.
I totally agree with that. And what our caller there, what was his name? Joe. Made the good point. You can't possibly allow him to stick around when he's gone.
No.
Liverpool, by the way, we're talking about their ground expansion earlier. I told you what happened when Bill Shankly went.
Yeah.
He was banished from the club.
He wasn't even allowed to come to the games or anything.
He wasn't allowed to the training ground. They didn't make any provision for him to come to the games. And on one occasion, when he asked if he could go abroad to watch the team, they put him in a hotel where no other member of the Liverpool setup was, and didn't even bother fixing up with a car to get to the game.
Right.
They just decided, look, we've got to move on and you've got to get out of here. And any club that doesn't do that is in trouble. Manchester United did it with Matt Busby, and they're doing it again now with Sir Alex Ferguson. Or they were until last season.
Do you see they're going to be spending a load of money, according to all the back pages?
I don't know where all this money's coming from.
Well, Manchester United make an awful lot of money. You've been quoted before as saying they're going to run out of money.
Well, they will run out of money.
Actually, they've got loads and loads of money because of all these deals they've been doing.
I will believe this and say it. Manchester United ready to spend another £150 million next summer to complete the Galactico Revolution. Van Galactico Revolution at Old Trafford. That's a great story. But
some of them are saying 350 million. Just think of a number and add a couple of zeros.
I will believe it when I see it.
I'm not sure who else there is out there to buy. Maybe they'll buy Lionel Messi. That's possible, isn't it?
Well, one of the guys that apparently has got his eye on is Arjen Robben.
Yes.
Which I can believe, because, of course, he spent the summer with him at the World Cup, didn't he, in Brazil? So he'll know how good and how dedicated the boy is. Very funny-looking boy, Arjen Robben, isn't he?
You think so?
Yeah, very funny-looking boy. He's
some people say he's rather a selfish player as well, that he kind of plays for himself. He doesn't necessarily play as part of the team.
I think he exemplifies the trait that a lot of footballers tell you about the Dutch players. Now, unless they're 100% fit, they don't like putting their boots on and going on the pitch.
Right.
And Arjen Robben apparently is the master of that independent decision-making when it comes to his own fitness. Yeah.
Excellent. Now, coming up in the next hour, we've got loads going on. We're going to be talking about the new Bond movie, which is being prepared as we speak. We're going to talk to a guy who spent 15 years Don't sing. It's too early. 15 years this guy spent impersonating Sean Connery, so his impersonation of Sean Connery will be much better than yours. Also, we are going to get around to talking to this guy who said that he went to Mars, not once but several times, as part of a secret US government space mission.
Good.
And we'll be asking him...
Where he hides his spaceship.
Well, I don't know where he hides his spaceship, but he lives in Washington at the moment, and he says he hasn't been back to Mars for quite a few years.
Okay.
We'll also take more of your calls, 08717 22 33 44. We'll be looking ahead to more of the football as well. You can text us at 81089. You can find us on Twitter at the two Mikes, at Mike Parry 8, and at IROMG. We'll have to read out some tweets actually coming up. You've not been very good at doing that. A couple of tweets have come in, but I don't want to read them out because they're a bit insulting to you, which is a little early in the show for that kind of thing. Plus,
I resent that.
Well, they're coming in.
Selective. They're selective.
They're not
tweets,
selective. I'm not actually choosing.
You're not going to get away with that tonight
until we get some nice ones. Also, a general knowledge quiz coming up a little bit later on, which was your chosen subject. You asked for that.
I got an A level in general studies, mate.
Did you?
So that's nothing to me.
I don't know what general studies means, but
general studies means you know quite a lot about quite a lot of things.
Well, that's good because there's a bit of maths, there's a bit of geography, there's a bit of history.
In the you know when you've got Mastermind and all that.
Yeah.
I get 75% of the general knowledge questions right.
Do you?
Yeah, 75% at least.
Why do you only get 30% right of all the quizzes we give you then?
Well, you gerrymander all the questions because you're basically envious of my intelligence.
I am.
And you try to make me out to look like a fool.
This is TalkSport Extra Time. We are the two Mikes, at Mike Parry 8, of course, at IROMG, and at the two Mikes is the place to tweet us. I've got one from Gareth in Pencoed.
Yeah.
I wonder if he knows Derek in Pencoed. He says, Mike, any chance of adding a few of Porky's Hey Heys and into some of the music over the next few hours?
You plunger.
Absolutely hilarious, he says. A lot of people do like that hey, 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 even though you've expressed a little bit of...
No, most of our listeners don't understand what it's all about. They don't know why the hey, hey thing is even involved in the show.
Have you heard the Advent calendar, by the way? You know, we've got this Mike Parry Advent calendar on the go at the moment. So every single day between now and Christmas, we unveil one of those classic Mike Parry clips. People are really enjoying them at the moment.
Well, I don't think there's anything classic about it, although I'm very happy to get people into the spirit of Christmas. Christmas is a time for families, for celebrations, for remembering where we all, pitch our projective dreams and aspirations in life.
This is one of those moments when you're not sure what you're actually going to say next. So you come out with a load of these ridiculous words.
No, I know exactly what I'm saying, mate. Just that you're not really that bright enough to be able to understand.
So what are you pitching exactly this Christmas then?
What am I pitching?
A tent?
No. Don't be silly. Don't be silly. Why? See, why do you get like that? Why do you get like that?
Well, what are you pitching?
What I'm pitching is I'm pitching a bid for a spiritual position which keeps you on the equilibrium to be able to help others in life. We're only here to help others. I'm only here to help others.
Did you help anyone today?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, help people.
What did you do today?
What did I do today? I will have,
You didn't help anyone today, did you?
Yes, I will have.
Because I can tell you a story about how I helped somebody yesterday.
Oh, go on.
I helped
what did you do?
A woman who had a young child with her on the bus. I helped her to get her pram off the bus, put the pram up for her so that she could put the kid into the pram, because it's very difficult for women. When she got on the bus and the bus driver said, you're going to have to fold that up because we've already got a pram on the bus because we're going to have one. And the other thing, after I did that, got on the train, right, because I was going into town to have lunch. Yeah. Unbelievably, I don't know if you saw the picture I put out on Twitter, I couldn't actually show how big this thing was. There was one of those mobility scooters. Actually on the tube. But it was a massive one.
How did you get that on the tube?
Well, it was almost as big as like a smart car. It took up the whole car. With
how
did
you get it down into the platform?
Well, I presume there must have been a lift wherever they...
it sounds too big for a lift, so Wouldn't it have been better sort of getting a taxi or something, getting across town?
Well, that's probably too expensive. Anyway, let's talk about James Bond, because the new James Bond film is coming out. William has tweeted at IROMG. He says, Ray, the new Bond film, maybe Porky could help with the storyline as the KGB tried to recruit him in Moscow.
Yes. So, what
do you know about the new Bond film? Have you been studying it?
No, but I know it's called Spectre.
It is called Spectre.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
I know it will star, what's his name, the tight trunk guy.
Daniel Craig, that's right. I know there's one of the Bond girls is 50 years of age. Is that right?
The oldest Bond girl ever, although I've seen pictures of her and she doesn't look anything like 50 to me.
Monica Bellucci you're talking about.
Monica Bellucci, I think you're absolutely right. And it will be another rip-roaring film, and I'm a huge Bond fan.
And he's going to be driving a new Aston Martin DB10, apparently, exclusively for this film.
Fantastico. You see, what the James Bond films do for me is they absolutely illustrate the way the world has changed.
Yeah.
Now, in the old days, when there was a Berlin Wall
and
we had a Cold War, we knew who the enemy were. right? There were the Ruscos, who were the baddies, and there was us, and we were the goodies in the West.
I don't think you can call them that, actually.
Well, they were called that in those days, if you see what I mean. Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. And they're now the Russians, of course,
yes.
you know. In fact, they're not even the Russians anymore. They're the Russians, the Ukrainians, the Georgians. Do you understand what I mean?
I do.
So nobody quite knows where the enemy dividing line is these days, because us in the Western world decided to go and smash up a few countries in the Middle East for reasons we still haven't found out about yet, because the report hasn't been published. We then unleashed a rain and wave of potential terrorists on the world.
That's true. But the thing about James Bond movies is that they've always had a kind of mad villain, haven't they? They've always had some guy who just wants to take over the world and run it for himself.
Not always.
Not necessarily because of some organisation.
Usually.
It's nothing to do with an actual country. It's more to do with people like Goldfinger and people like Dr.
If this is called Spectre, it obviously means there's going to be some super villain who's had a Spectre around which the whole film is based.
And they're bringing Spectre back, presumably, because Spectre wasn't always in the most recent Bond films, was it?
No, it's not been in all of them. Donald Pleasance had a Spectre in one film, wasn't he?
He was.
And then who had a Spectre in another one? I can't quite remember now. But anyway, the point is, I mean, they are the lethal organisation who pit their wits against James Bond. Hopefully, James Bond will once again win this one.
And have you got a collection of James Bond films at home? Because I know you're a big fan of watching things over and over and over again.
No, I'm not a big fan of watching things over and over and over again, to be honest. But what I will say to you is...
We watched Dallas over and over again.
Well, that's because I have huge admiration for J.R. Ewing.
You've got huge admiration for James Bond as well, haven't you?
A pretty big admiration for James Bond, I have to say.
I'd have expected you to have the entire film collection.
Well, I haven't got the entire film collection because I think some of the James Bond films slipped a little bit. I thought Moonraker, which starred Simon Templar, what's his name? Roger Moore. Yeah. Starred Roger Moore. I thought that was silly because the idea of flying a little spacecraft up to, space stations in space.
Moon, presumably.
Hey?
The moon, presumably. Wasn't it called Moonraker?
That's what I said it was called, Moonraker, yeah.
Well, weren't they flying up to the moon?
No, they were flying up to a space station.
Oh, were they?
Yeah, they didn't fly to the moon.
Okay.
No, you fool. And the idea that Jaws, and it was only the second film Jaws was in, turned round and suddenly became James Bond's friend rather than his enemy, and... it was all mad. It was a mad film, crazy. And I thought that dipped below the standards required. However, most of them have been absolutely excellent. I thought the one about the diamonds in the coffin and trying to incinerate James Bond in the opening scenes.
Diamonds Are Forever.
Diamonds Are Forever. I thought that was a bit dodgy.
You thought that was a bit dodgy. Well, coming up next, we're going to talk to a man who's spent 15 years impersonating Sean Connery, and I'm going to have him hear your Sean Connery impersonation as well. Dennis Keogh is going to join us next on TalkSport.
Looks at this world and wants it all. So he strikes like thunderbolt.
This is TalkSport with the two Mikes. He's Mike Parry, I'm Mike Graham, and that, of course, is Tom Jones singing
fantastic,
Thunderball, one of the great Bond movies, and at a time when Sean Connery was the king of the Bond movies, of course, as well. And lots of people still think he was the best one. We're going to talk to a man now who is Dennis Keogh, who's been impersonating Sean Connery for 15 years.
Wow.
And we're going to find out just how good he thinks your Sean Connery voice is as well. Dennis, a very good morning to you, and welcome to the show.
Yes, thank you. Nice to have me on.
Very good. You've been on the golf course, have you, Dennis?
Yes, we have 255 golf courses here within a 6-mile radius in Arizona.
That's right. You've been playing Goldfinger again.
Yeah, Goldfinger was quite the character, eh?
Yeah.
7.
Yeah, absolutely. As long as old Oddjob doesn't get hold of you. Dennis, what do you think about the announcement of the new James Bond film?
Well, I think it's fantastic that they finally came up with a name, and Daniel Craig did a great job in the last 4 series he's been in, and I don't think people realize how difficult the role is to play.
Now, whenever there is a new Bond film out, do you get sort of more work, as it were, Dennis, because people want to harken back to the Sean Connery era?
Absolutely. It generates quite a bit of work, and I love what I do, so with this new film coming out in October in the UK and November here, I suspect I'll be very busy.
And when did you begin to impersonate Sean Connery? How long have you been doing it for? It says 15 years, but you must have started before that.
Yeah, so when I was about 42, people started to say, you look like Sean Connery, and didn't think much of it. And then I had a real job, you know. About age 46, I started to think about doing it professionally. At 50 or so, I started doing it professionally, and been all around the place, and it's fantastic. The people love Bond, and they love Connery, and I just have fun with it.
No, that's excellent, Dennis. Now, of course, one of the great perks of being James Bond is that you are mobbed by very attractive women. Does that happen to you?
Yeah, this is quite a curse, isn't it?
Of course it is. Yeah, you fight them off.
Well, the thing of it is, I'm in Vegas a lot, and in Vegas there's people drinking a lot of alcohol, so it always adds to the flame, so to speak. I mean, people just mob me for photographs and pictures, but when I'm in my local area here, I still get quite a few people come up and ask me for a photograph, not so much an autograph. I won't sign autographs, but I always joke. I say, why is that, dear? And, well, you're Sean Connery. I said, well, who told you that? But it's just fun, and the girls love Bond, and the guys love Bond. You know, you walk a fine line.
Yeah.
You must be a ladies' man, but also a man's man, because that's what Sean was.
Absolutely. And have you always talked like Sean Connery, Dennis? Because you do sound very, very like him.
Well, Sean is Scottish, of course. We all know that. Played a British spy. But he's been in the States so long, and in the Bahamas, that he's more of an Americanized Scottish accent. And I've studied his voice for years, and he talks very slowly. But when on the radio, you must talk quickly because his airtime is expensive. But I studied his voice extensively, and his life, and Bond, yes. It brings more to your character. When I'm working events or corporate parties, people ask me questions, I can give them a correct answer.
Another problem about being James Bond, of course, Dennis, is that you do attract a lot of women, but on the other hand, you do attract a lot of envy from men, you know, who want to beat you up because they think that, you know, their wife is giving you the eye and all that kind of stuff. And
that's only from men like you, though, who would like to be James Bond, right?
No, not at all. And, of course, you might find occasionally the odd tarantula crawling over you in bed. Can you deal with these sort of things?
That was in a film, by the way.
Yes, I know that.
Yes, well, you know, in that movie, of course, there was a screen there, a plate that you couldn't see, but no one knew that. You know, Sean wasn't going to take any chances back in the day. He was quite the character, you know, on and off the screen, and he's an icon, and I'm just privileged to have a bear resemblance, so to speak, that I can do this. But I try to play up to the guys and make them feel good. I always compliment the wives and tell them, you have a vision of loveliness, dear. And you, sir, like the knight in the old movie, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Yeah. You chose wisely. You know, and you always want to. You don't want people ticked off. Now, I've had guys, the jealous types, that you know they want to hover over their wives. Oh, James Bond's in the room. He's going to steal my wife. But that comes from insecurity. Most fellas are very secure with their marriage and their relationships, and it very rarely happens. I just have fun.
Okay, well that's good. Do you own a gun, Dennis?
Well, you know,
strange question.
No, it's not. It's not. A lot of people in America have guns.
They do. Do you own a gun?
Here's the thing. I've got a prop. I've got a lot of PPK. I used to take it to my events. But I was doing a jewelry show about 5 years ago, and the guys there, the folks, they had about $1 million in jewelry. And they said, Commander Bond, is that a real gun? And I said, no, it's a toy, but you make us very uncomfortable with that. I said, well, I'm not going to steal your jewels. And he said, well, someone might take your gun. I said, well, I don't think anyone's going to take James Bond's gun, but if you feel happier or safer, here's the toy. And I gave it up. I don't. I know my counterparts. They do a fantastic job over there in the UK. My Daniel Craig buddies, I got a couple of them. Max Ryder's a great guy, and Steve Wright. They do Daniel Craig. They always have guns and sunglasses on.
So have you ever met Sean Connery, Dennis?
I've never had the honor, never had the privilege. Although 2 years ago, I walked for him up Fifth Avenue with the St. Patrick's Day Parade as Sean Connery.
So you impersonated him for real. Interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you very much indeed, Dennis. I couldn't tell whether he was doing a Sean Connery accent or his own accent there, actually. I think he started doing a Sean Connery accent, but then I think his voice has kind of melded into Sean Connery's accent. Can you do Sean Connery? Not really, no.
Go on, try.
I don't really do impersonations.
Go on, try. No, you don't want to try?
What do you expect me to do, Mr. Bond? I said it the wrong way, isn't it?
Yeah, no.
What do you expect me to do, Goldfinger?
No.
Sounds more like Northern Irish accent, doesn't it?
No. If that one, it was like this, says, do you expect me to talk, Goldfinger?
That sounds like a Northern Irish accent as well.
No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
That's the one.
Yeah.
That wasn't any worse than his, really, was it?
Well, James Bond talked with a sort of Scottish accent.
That's the sort of Scottish-Dutch accent you're doing now.
Mid-Atlantic, shaken, not stirred. My name is Bond, James Bond.
My name is Steve Bond, that sounds like Steve McLaren again, isn't it?
I sort of knew when I came here. Champions
My name
League.
is... Hang on. My name is Bond, James... No, it's not right. I can't quite pitch it right.
Practicing it.
I can't pitch it right at the Scottish thing. Think Scottish, so, I belong to Glasgow.
But he's from Edinburgh, isn't he?
Yeah, he's from Edinburgh. And then think, my name is Bond, James Bond, shaken, not stirred. Yeah,
that still sounds
better.
Dutch.
Yeah, shaken, not stirred. Walter PPK. Yeah. Well, it's all that sort of stuff.
It is all that sort of
but
stuff.
Anyway,
yeah.
we're glad there's another James Bond film coming out, aren't we?
Yeah, I think it's coming out in October of 2015, apparently. And did you watch Skyfall? Did you like that one?
Well, I thought it went on a bit too long,
and
I thought the end was a bit ludicrous because the idea that, the head of the British Secret Service was holed up in a remote farm in Scotland waiting for people to come and kill her, ludicrous. We do have a bunch called the SAS who go around rubbing people out all around the world at regular intervals, and why on earth they couldn't have gone up and saved, I don't know.
But an awful lot of the plots of James Bond movies are pretty ridiculous. Also, have a look on this guy's website as well, because he looks not unlike you, to be honest, this guy, Dennis
Is that
Keogh.
right?
And if he gets mistaken for
fella.
Sean Connery, maybe you could get mistaken for Sean Connery.
Mistaken for Sean Connery? I don't think so. Do you think that... there's two people. There's James Bond and there's Sean Connery.
Yeah.
Now, you say you think Sean Connery was the best James Bond.
I think he was, actually.
I don't. I liked Roger Moore because I thought Roger Moore brought an element of humour to it.
Yeah, but his movies got very silly in the end.
Well, I said the Moonraker one did, but I thought the best film was Live and Let Die because of the fantastic boat chase in the middle and introducing the character of the Deep South Sheriff.
Yeah, that's when I thought it started to get a bit silly.
I got you now, boy.
That's when I thought it started to get a bit silly. The boat chase was good, though.
Yeah, the boat chase was brilliant. I thought it was the best action sequence in any James Bond film ever. Well, apart from the aircraft in Live and Let Die.
That's the same film.
Oh, is it? No. Well, in that case...
What, you mean the car that turns into a plane?
Well, the car that turned into a plane was Octopussy. Now, that was a brilliant one. That was Roger Moore. But hang on, where was the one that was based in Japan when James Bond flew the little plane over the volcano and all the helicopters came to try and shoot him down? Oh, no, that was brilliant. That was brilliant. What was that called? The one in Japan? Let me think now.
I don't remember the one being set in Japan.
Yeah, set in Japan, wasn't it? And,
that's not the one with Christopher Lee.
No. Oh, it might have been.
Scaramanga.
No.
Man with the Golden Gun.
No, that was Man with the Golden Gun. This one was You Only Live Twice. You only live twice.
You only live once, fortunately.
Yeah, that's a bit harsh, isn't it? A play on words. But no, all the James Bond films have been great in their own way because they're so action-packed and so exciting. But they did have a blip, didn't they, just before Daniel Craig became James Bond, because they all got spooked by the Bourne films.
Yeah, that's right.
Which were so much more, not full of action, but full of violence, I
just
suppose.
more grown up, I think.
Yeah, they were a bit, yeah.
I'm looking forward to your Porky Vision later on, by the way, so I hope you've been studying some of the TV that's been going on in the last week or so. We're going to be talking later on this hour to the man who says he's been to Mars as well, so that might be quite strange also. I thought that Dennis Keogh guy was quite a strange interview, to be honest, but we've got lots more to do.
Where was he phoned us from?
Keep your calls coming in. It's from the United States of America.
Well, I know, but which part?
DennisKeogh007.com is his website. If you want to go
right, okay. Yeah.
This is TalkSport Extra Time. We are the two mics. Lots more coming up next. It's nearly Christmas time and everyone has an advent calendar. So here's a little advent countdown, Extra Time style.
So here we are, Porky Parry making his debut on the turntables. I'm turning one way and one the other. Yes, this is me and music. What about that? The Porkmeister bringing you all the discs and the hits on Hospital Radio.
Ho, ho, ho!
Hey, hey, hey!
That's the Advent calendar opening for today, and as I said, we're going to be doing that all the way up to Christmas. You're looking very quizzical about that.
Well, I just can't even remember the circumstances around that one, about the turntables and all that kind of stuff.
It was quite a while ago, that one. But all of these clips are somewhere in a vault, and somebody's just...
I'm very much in favour of the Advent calendar countdown. Does it count down to Christmas Day itself?
I believe so, yeah.
Because, of course, on Christmas Eve, you and I are going to be here on a special show.
Yeah, that's right, we are.
We're starting at 10 and going through till 1 a.m. on Christmas morning.
And hopefully that'll be when you bring me a present.
Oh, yeah, I might bring you a present.
I'm surprised you haven't got an advent calendar, actually, because since you're such a lover of chocolate, I would have thought that you would have bought an advent calendar.
Well, you've got to be very careful about the chocolate these days, you know what I mean? Ill weight and all that kind of stuff, and as you get older, you put more weight on. It means your heart, particularly if it's as knackered as my heart is carrying around more weight, and you've got to be very, very careful. Now, talking about gifts, you're one of these nutters who's going to give your dog a gift this Christmas.
I wouldn't describe myself as a nutter, no, but I'll probably give the dog something to open, just because the dog likes to play with paper, apart from anything else. You might just give him some paper to play around with.
Now, do you treat your dog well, and do you actually discipline it properly? Because I've been reading a book on dogs. Well, I want to have a dog. And when the moment comes I retire to my cottage in Northumberland...
What sort of dog do you think you'd like to have?
Well, probably a Labrador, but they're too lively, and B, they eat too much.
They are very lively. I mean, this Labrador I've got is incredibly strong now.
They eat too much, right, and they can eat themselves not to death, but they make themselves quite ill, you know what I mean? So
they eat absolutely anything.
I know, that's what I mean. So I've decided I might downgrade it to a spaniel. A little spaniel.
Might be easy to control, yeah.
I tell you what I do
King Charles Spaniel, perhaps?
Yeah, King Charles Spaniel, big floppy ears. And I do like those pointers. Are the pointers the ones that are in the hounds that hunts? Not that I'm going to go hunting with my dog or anything.
No, those are bloodhounds.
Well,
they're bloodhounds, are they?
No, they're bloodhounds are the things you see in the film Rambo when they go chasing them up a mountain. I'm talking about in this country when the hunt goes out. Yeah. You know all the dogs yapping around on the ground.
On the hunt?
Yeah, they're pointers, aren't they?
No, I think they're bloodhounds.
They're not bloodhounds, Mike. Bloodhounds, a dog that looks like a bloodhound, long bleary eyes and all that. These dogs are fit because they run across fields.
Right. You may know more about hunting than I do. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, I don't know anything about hunting. I'm not a pro.
But you don't want a hunting dog unless you're going to go hunting, do you?
Well, they're not. Yeah, but I mean that's like saying spaniels can be trained to be gun dogs, but not all spaniels are gun dogs.
A dog that's very active, you'd have to exercise it an awful lot. And without wishing to say that you might not be able to do that, you might not be able to do that.
Listen, I'm going to ask you some points about your dog, because you're always giving me quizzes, right? This is not a quiz, but I'm just interested. Now, does your dog understand the signals that you give out when you're preparing to go to sleep, to go to bed, and will it then quieten down and stop bothering you?
Yes, I would say so.
Okay. And is your dog intelligent enough to know that when it's yapping and wants to go out for a walk, if it's raining outside, it will get wet? Therefore, does it ask for its coat to be put on?
It doesn't ask for its coat.
Ask, but I mean, is it a wet?
Because it doesn't actually speak English, my dog.
No, don't be silly. What I'm saying is, does it go for its coat, and does it grab its coat and make you say, please put my coat on?
Well, I haven't got a coat for
it. So when you take it out in the wet, it gets wet?
It gets wet, yeah. It's got fur.
Is that fair to a dog?
It's got fur.
No. Dogs should have coats.
Why should dogs have coats?
Because dogs get wet, and dogs, when they get wet, they get pneumonia, and you don't want your dog to get pneumonia, so you should give it a coat.
He doesn't particularly like going out in the rain, that's for sure.
That's what I'm saying. Why'd you take it out in the rain for?
Because he'd rather have the exercise than not have the exercise, and getting wet is part of a dog's life. That's what happens.
No, splashing through puddles with its big paws is part of its life, but getting soaking wet is not any fun at all, and it's not good for a dog. Now then, does your dog swim?
Not a lot. He's had a sort of little go in the sea, but he hasn't really kind of fully gone in and actually started swimming.
Down where when I live on the coast, right, I walk round the back of Portsmouth Harbour. There's a bloke who brings his dog down. It cannot wait to get in the water. It loves it. And it doesn't just run in, it dives in. It dives from the pathway into the harbour.
Yeah, some of them love to do that.
And go swimming around.
Mine hasn't quite got to that point yet. I met a guy, actually, when I was down on the coast one day, and he said the best way to get it to come in is to go into the water with him, and he'll follow you, and then you can all swim around together.
Now, how long have you had the dog?
I would say about 9 months.
Right. How many words does the dog recognise when you speak them?
I would say probably about 15 to 20.
Hopeless. You're a hopeless dog owner. It should recognise at least 100 words by now.
100 words?
At least 100 words by now.
Well, it might do. I'm saying that's my estimate.
Well, if you don't know, you're obviously not taking much notice of your dog,
I'm taking lots of notice of the dog, but I don't want to overburden him with too much vocabulary.
Honest to God. Now,
he knows walkies. He understands chicken. He understands cheese. He understands
what's chicken? What's chicken?
Chicken, it's a sort of fowl. Some people eat them. Some people just like to watch them walking around.
Why does your dog need to know the word chicken?
Because he likes chicken.
Oh, he eats chicken.
If he ever hears the word chicken, he gets very excited.
Can you get
it's a special treat?
Can you get chicken for dogs?
You can get chicken for dogs. It's called chicken. You
No.
just give them a bit of chicken.
Oh, you idiot. What I mean is, can you get a tin of bonio that's got chicken in it?
You could get dog food that's chicken flavoured.
Yeah.
If you wanted to.
Yeah, but not chicken flavoured, got chicken in it.
No, I don't think so.
Right, now then, does your dog get stressed out when you're going?
He does, yeah, gets very stressed out.
Well, why'd you go then?
Well, because I have to go to work sometimes.
Well, you shouldn't have a dog in that case, because you're giving the dog stress.
Well, I'm not leaving him on his own.
No, what I mean is, you shouldn't have had a dog in the first place if you can't look after it properly. That's cruel.
I can look after it properly.
That's as cruel as a decision those boneheaded judges have made in New York tonight not to release...
No, I think that's actually not cruel. I think they've done exactly the right thing.
Not to release our chimp from his cage. It's an absolute damn disgrace. How long does it take for your dog to actually start doing what you want it to do when you teach it a new trick? So how long would it take you to train your dog to go and fetch your slippers?
I probably would take quite a long time. I would say maybe weeks.
Well, either you've got a dumb dog or you're not very good at
well, I'm not interested in teaching him tricks.
An intellectual medium with your dog.
I'm not really teaching him tricks.
Well, doesn't he pick up the paper off the doormat and all that, traditionally?
What I want him to do is to just have a happy life and then to do the things that I want him to do when I ask him. So if I ask him to come, I want him to come. If I ask him to sit, I want him to sit. I don't need him to do tricks.
Now, you think your dog's a well-behaved dog?
Not particularly, no.
Well, shouldn't it be?
Yeah, it should be, yeah, but it's a Labrador, and Labradors tend to be a bit sort of
you
exuberant.
should try harder.
They tend to be a bit exuberant until they're about 2 years old.
What would happen if I walked through the door of your shack in that field that you live in down in Sussex, right, and your dog was there? What would happen?
I would tell him to sit where he was and not jump on you, because you might not like that, and he wouldn't do it.
No, rubbish. You've just told me you can't control the dog.
I didn't say that at all.
Yes, you did.
When did I say that?
You just said it's not a very well-behaved dog.
It's not a brilliantly behaved dog,
and if it's not very well-behaved, then I bet you can't control it.
But it's a very young dog, that's why.
What?
Whose advice is this, anyway, that you're reading?
It's a new book I've been reading on dogs, because I'm thinking of having one. I'm just trying to find out exactly what the problems are.
I don't think your temperament is suited to having a dog, actually.
Oh, I think it is. I think it's
selfish.
If your dog's asleep, if you clap your hands and wake it up and tell it to do something, how long does it take to react?
It reacts straight away.
That's interesting. Most dogs don't. Most dogs take a few minutes to get their sort of head together. You know, they go,
you seem to know an awful lot about dogs, even though you've only had one when you were very, very young.
Yeah, but it had epileptic fits and died.
Yeah, I know. You've told us that.
Which was very bad news. I mean, in all seriousness, it was shocking, you know. No, this book I'm reading, it could fix me up indeed. Now, do you reward your dog for good behaviour?
I do.
You see, this is effort and reward. You see, this is a big part of dog psychology.
It is, yeah,
very big part of it. And do you exercise that?
Yes, of course. That was what they told us. The most important thing at puppy school is you don't punish them for bad behaviour. You reward them for good behaviour, and that's the way to success with a dog.
Okay. When you're walking the dog, how often does it get distracted by other things, like a rabbit or a bird or something like that?
Well, being a very young dog, he still gets quite distracted by things like that, but not to the point where it's a problem. The only thing that really distracts him is other dogs.
Okay, so you think you're basically a good dog owner?
I think I'm okay, yeah.
But you hardly ever see it?
That's not true either.
Well, you only see it when you go down to Sussex, don't you?
Yeah, well, that's half the week.
No, it's not half the week.
It is half the week.
It's usually just the weekends. How often do you walk it?
No, it's half the week. About 4 days a week.
No, I don't believe that.
Sometimes 5, actually.
No, you're pulling the wool over the listeners' eyes.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday I'm there.
Yeah, but you take the dog out every time you're there.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, really? I didn't know that. Now then...
how many more of these ridiculous questions have you got?
Well, I've just made notes, haven't I, from this book I've read to see whether I'm going to be able to...
But none of these questions are about you. What we should be asking is whether you're suitable to own a dog.
The other thing is...
Living in a penthouse, for example, I would suggest it's not the best place to have a dog.
No, but it will be when I live in a cottage on the beach.
Okay? Cottage on the beach.
Now, the other thing is, which is very, very important, have you got a system of communication with your dog that your hand signals are completely au fait with the dog receiving an instruction from you?
I can just look at him and he knows what I want him to do.
Look at him?
Yeah.
What, like you got X-ray eyes or something?
Well, no, because he always looks at me when something's going on to see whether I'm in approval of it or whether I'm going to be disapproving of it.
What's your approval expression?
Well, I can't show it to you, but he knows it because he's a very smart dog.
And what's your disapproval expression?
It's different from that, obviously.
Yeah, but look, you haven't answered the question. A good dog owner has up to 20 or 30 different hand signals, they can gesture towards the dog, and the dog will understand. For instance, jump over that fence could be a hand signal.
It could be. What would you do for that then?
Well, I don't know.
Just like a fey kind of movement of the wrist that you just did there.
Like a sort of loop.
Right.
Like a sort of looping noise,
right.
Sound. Gesture, looping gesture. And, if you say if you put the food down on the floor, then you've got to have a hand gesture to allow the dog to start eating.
Yeah.
And then one to stop it eating.
Yeah.
Okay?
It stops eating when it's finished.
If you want to make sure your dog behaves when a stranger comes into the room, I would be a stranger to your dog. You've got to have a hand signal to make sure if the dog misbehaves, it will be admonished. But you don't seem to have any hand signals.
No, but the dog does what I tell him to do, so I'm not unhappy about that.
I don't think you've got control of it.
I don't think you've really got the temperament to get a dog at this moment in time.
I've got lots of love to give to a dog. Lots of love to give to a dog.
Much love to give to anybody, really. But look into light for a moment, because coming up next, we're going to talk to a man who says that he's been to Mars. He's been on a space mission several times to the Red Planet.
I believe
this is Talk Sport.
Crazy, but that's how it goes. Millions of people living as hoes. Yeah, but maybe.
This is Talk Sport Extra Time. I'm Mike Graham. He is Mike Parry. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. We're hoping to get hold of our man who's been to Mars very, very shortly. He's not answering his phone at the moment.
What time's he coming on?
Well, he's supposed to be coming on now. But
no, that's great. I'm going to love talking to this guy because, everybody in the world will be a cynic about, you've been to Mars and all that. Who's to say that he's not, genetically connected to somebody who has been to Mars? I mean, through his chromosomes.
What do you mean? He hasn't been there himself, but he knows someone who has?
No, it might have been somebody from his lineage
What,
of
an
life.
ancestor, you mean?
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely.
Well, how would that have happened, though?
Well, because remember, I've been to the cave in Chile where there are illustrations made thousands of years ago by local people of some strangers appearing at the mouth of their cave wearing spacesuits.
Right. Couldn't they just have been drawings that they saw as kind of, artistic kind of, I don't know, interpretations?
Where would they have got the idea for a spacesuit from?
It could have been their imagination, couldn't it?
Well, it could have been, but I mean, imaginations are stirred by something. So all I'm saying is, if that was the case, who's to say that the situation couldn't have gone in reverse?
What, so you mean some Martians might have come down to this planet a long time ago and taken people back with them or something like that?
I think it's a possibility.
Do you?
I think it's a possibility. And the thing is our guest, who we're going to talk to in a minute or two, is he saying it's specifically Mars or a planet?
He's saying that he spent nearly 3 years in a secret space fleet run by a multinational organisation called the Earth Defence Force, right?
Right.
Which nobody knows anything about. And they recruit military personnel from all sorts of countries, including the United States. So it's like a secret kind of government project, right? 17 years of his career was spent on Mars.
I mean, there could be
he says.
Yeah, there could be a lot happening that we don't know about for obvious reasons. I mean, for instance, haven't we already spoken this week about the loud bangs that happened all over Britain?
We were talking about that earlier on Monday night,
and there's been more about that now. They've searched the Catterick army camp, where initially they put it down to detonators firing off because they were old and unused and they were just neglected.
But they discounted that, though, didn't they?
They've discounted that altogether.
So is there any more updates on that? Because
no
people
update
were quite
at all.
interested on that on Twitter on Tuesday about that.
That's right. No update at all. Nobody can find out where those bangs happened. So the idea that space travel's gone... I mean, look, I personally don't think there are aliens out there.
I thought you did.
No, I don't. I've told you this before. I just don't think they can be, otherwise they'd have been here by now. However...
Well, you've just said they might have been here by now, though.
No, I said they might have been here a couple of 2 or 3 millenniums ago, okay? But I don't think they're here now. I think.
Well, why would they come then and not come back now?
Well, because the way that the galaxies work, Mike, satellites work and all that, is that they could have been on a planet passing close to Earth. And that was the time that they could make it and come here. But no...
When was a planet passing close to Earth, then?
Well, I don't know, about 3,000 years ago.
Really?
And now that's moved on. They've gone too far to be able to come back. You see what I mean? So I think they're out of reach now. Otherwise, we'd have seen them. And said something about it. But anyway, that's... that's just so...
That's by the way. Well, at the moment, we can't get hold of him, so we'll keep trying.
We will
keep trying.
We will. Listen, I tell you we don't ever have on this show because of the timescale and all that kind of stuff. Paul Breen Turner,
yes,
right?
He's our man in Spain, isn't he? Southern Spain.
He's our man in Spain. Now, I've come across this report this week that some people actually invent really posh names like that.
Sort of double-barrelled names.
Double-barrelled names to make themselves sound more important in life.
That wouldn't surprise me.
You see, your name is so basic, Mike Graham.
What's wrong with that?
Well, it's so basic, isn't it? You know, that nobody will ever remember it. You know
Straightforward name.
A very basic name, that's right, yeah. Now, I was born Michael Allen Newton Parry.
Newton?
Yes, Newton.
Why Newton?
Well, Newton-Parry was my double-barrelled surname.
Why did you have a double-barrelled surname?
Well, because of my ancestry.
Of the Newton Parrys from where, then?
Well, certainly not.
One of your ancestors invent that, do you think?
No. We were the Newton Parrys. But I decided to drop it because I thought Mike Parry, you know, once I got into newspapers...
Are you sure you haven't just invented this story because that's what Piers Morgan did? Because Piers was Piers Pugh Morgan, wasn't he? And he decided that when he went to work for The Sun... Piers Pugh Morgan wasn't going to work as a byline, so he got rid of it.
No, I didn't. But I tell you something. I mean, I'm not sure whether when I transferred from newspapers into radio, I should have got a more exotic name. For instance...
Well, there's lots of people who work in radio who change their names.
Do they?
Yeah.
Like who?
Well, like all sorts of, people who work not on Talk Sport, but on, other radio stations.
I mean, look, I wouldn't want a name like... the guy who sang White Wedding, Billy Fury. No, Billy
Idol.
Billy Idol, thank you very much.
By the way, somebody's texted in to say that they were not bloodhounds in Rambo, they were Dobermans. So I think you've got a long way to go before you can start thinking about getting a dog. So you think you're mistaking a bloodhound for a
I believe
Dobermans?
there were both. I've got a mental image now of both Dobermans and bloodhounds.
Okay.
Well, you know when that really... nasty little old guy who was in control of the dog said, "Yeah, boys, go on, get him." So he let his dogs off the leash. Yeah. Well, of course, next thing he heard was 4 yelps because Rambo was the measure of them. Rambo managed to do them all. Yeah. And then he started crying, this guy.
I think they were Dobermans, though.
I'm not sure about that, Bloodhounds. You know our colleague Alan Rees down in the West Country?
Yes.
I got a bill once from somebody because he killed a dog. Because they set a dog on him to attack him and he hit it with the bough of a tree. Just happened to be a bough of a tree nearby.
Terrible story.
And they claimed that this led to the dog having to be put down. So I got the bill for the dog, £3,000. We didn't pay it. Disputed it, because if you set a dog on somebody, then, you have to take the consequences.
That's not a very good idea either.
No. Getting back to names, you see, I like names like Orlando Bloom, don't you?
That is
Isn't that a great name?
Is that his real name?
Well, I don't know. I doubt it. Well, it might be. In the showbiz world, they brand their children all sorts of silly names.
But there was a time, of course, when sort of rock stars and Hollywood actors and actresses changed their names anyway. Yeah. I don't think they do it so much anymore.
I mean, old John Wayne was marrying somebody, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And, of course, that's not a very good sort of macho name, is it? So John Wayne sounded a lot better. But for instance, we have a colleague called Russell Dalbartinson. Now, that is a great name. People will always remember that name, won't they?
They will. And I think, well, you see, the thing is, if you're one of those people that judges people by how kind of exotic or how posh their name sounds, then you're just kind of feeding into that whole thing. It's like that list I was telling you about of, this survey that was done to say how to judge that you've made it. It's things like, have you flown first class? Have you got a holiday home somewhere? Do you send your kids to private school? Yeah. It's all very much for effect, isn't it? It's all very much just to kind of show off, to go, look how successful I am. I've got all these things like having a nice car and all the rest of it. And changing your name, strangely for you, to a more common name actually surprises me. I'd have thought you'd gone the other way.
Well, I would have gone the other way, if I'd have gone to radio first and then newspapers afterwards or something like that. But, I mean, I just love some of the Victorian names. Like, for instance, there was, at my school...
I didn't realise you went to school in the Victorian era.
No. In my school, in the King's School, Chester, where they have a picture of me in the entrance hall.
So you keep saying, yeah.
They do.
We'll have to go there one day and see if that's true.
Yeah, absolutely fine. There's a list of the headmasters going right back to the day in 1548 when it was founded by King Henry VIII, OK? Yeah. And one of the names of one of the headmasters in the Victorian times was Nathaniel Rushley.
Yes.
Now, that's a great name.
Nathaniel's a good name.
Yeah, well, Nathaniel Rushley is such a great name, and you think of this chap with the whiskery beard and all that kind of stuff, you know what I mean? And that gives you a great image. Yeah. The Victorians had some really, really great names. And I just wish that we had not dispensed with some. If you read, some of Shakespeare's names, they're just fantastic, aren't they?
But, names come in and out of fashion as well, don't they? Names come in and out of fashion. When you read about, the most popular baby names and all that kind of thing, they do come sometimes from bygone eras.
Well, guess what the latest names are? In the last 12 months, all the names of the characters in Downton Abbey are suddenly shooting up the charts as as names for newborn babies.
Really?
I mean, how trite can you be? Because by the time that kid's 8 or 10 and he's asked, what is your name, whatever the name
Whatever it is.
Yeah. You say, well, because of Downton Abbey, and people say, what's Downton Abbey? Because it will have gone 10 years ago, you know what I mean?
But they'll be able to look back at it. Let's take a call here. Alan's a Luton fan. He wants to talk about aliens. Hello, Alan.
Morning.
Yeah.
How are you?
Hi, Alan.
Morning. Yeah, I'm just intrigued by Mike Parry's utter ignorance on there might not be anything out in the universe.
Right.
It would appear that Mike Parry's view of the universe is about as big as his back garden.
Well,
what I mean...
Yeah, go on.
Hang on.
Go on.
Because you always interrupt, Mike.
Yeah, go on.
What I think is that if the nearest star to us is the sun, and it takes 9 minutes for the light to get from the sun to the earth, how long, Mike, would it take us to travel to the second nearest star, which is Proxima?
I don't know. You tell me.
Using conventional, about 175,000 years.
Really?
But once you get there,
that's a long time.
There's nothing. Well, of course it is, because it's 4.25 light years away, Mike.
Yeah.
But to send the signal back to say there's nothing at that star would only take 4.25 years, because messages travel at the speed of light.
Yeah, but what?
So if the universe,
Alan.
Hang on. If the universe is 26 billion light years across, do you think the chance of people coming to visit the Earth are good, bad, or non-existent?
Well,
even if they've got brilliant technology, Mike, they'd never get here because it's just too bigger than your back garden.
That's what I'm saying, Alan, and that's why there's nobody out there who can possibly reach Earth.
No, that's not what you said.
No, yes, it is. Yes, it is exactly what I said. It's exactly what I said.
Well, you said you didn't think there was anybody out there because they'd gone too far away.
No, exactly. That's exactly what I said. There's nobody out there who could ever reach Earth in time to still be alive when they got here.
Well, we're never going to get there. They're never going to get here. It's just
that's right. That's right. That's what I said to you. So, to all intents and purposes, there is nobody out there because they're never going to come to Earth.
There are people. There are things even in our solar system, and I don't just mean us, because you've got to look at microbial life that exists out in our solar system, in and around and on the planets and their moons.
Well, have you got any evidence of these beings or these existences?
Well, being a mathematician by profession, things this big and vast interest me.
Yeah, good,
and you just have to go and get some books, and I suggest you ought to read some before you make some comments that there isn't anything that's ever going to get it.
No, I'll concede.
It's only microbial life.
I'll concede to the first person who tells me, looking in their telescope last night in the sky, they saw, something resembling ET going past on a bicycle or something. But until that day, I'm sorry, there is nothing out there. There is nothing out there, Alan.
I think that's true, actually. Alan, thanks very much indeed for your call. I mean, but it's a bit like your Taj Mahal conversation. If you haven't been to the Taj Mahal, why do you care if it exists?
Yes.
You're basically saying that because you can't prove that there's anybody out there, you don't think there is.
No, what I'm saying
is
we've been around for 2,000 years, right? On this Earth. Or a bit longer, because it was BC before Jesus Christ came about. So maybe 3,000 years.
Yeah, maybe even more than that.
Actually, maybe 10,000. Yeah. Or, in fact, man's been around for about 1 million years, hasn't he?
No, about 6,000 years.
About 6,000 years. OK, something like that. Well, in those 6,000 years, which is quite a long time, nobody's visited us from another planet anywhere else in the...
We don't know that, though.
Well, of course we know it. Because it's not been written about. The whole of the scriptures was written about, Jesus Christ, and the 2,000 years since then is documented.
But what about the cave paintings, then?
The cave paintings are something that happened in a completely different time zone, not the time zone we live in now. We don't know how far that could have gone back. That could have gone back hundreds of millions of years.
Really?
Do you know that some of the craters in Western Australia, where they now mine things like iron ore, are 300 to 400 million years old.
Really?
How about that?
Yeah, how extraordinary is that?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the Earth's quite old,
Well, I know the Earth's quite old. I know all that. What I'm saying is that if somebody had ever come who was, an extraterrestrial, we'd know about it. It'd been written about by now.
Somebody would have interviewed them, no doubt, for the Daily Express.
Don't be silly. What I'm saying is there would have been... I mean, we know, for instance...
You've seen the time, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
Look at the time, look.
We know everything about the Romans. Because the Romans were around. There was no television or anything like that. We know the Romans were around.
They had clocks as well, look. This is TalkSport Extra Time with the two mics. It's Mike at Mike Parry 8 at the two mics and at IROMG. You can also text us on 81089. Laurie the Hammer has texted in to say, Porky, why don't you get a greyhound? They don't need a lot of exercise, and you can get an ex-racer for nothing from any dog track. And here's one from...
well, there's a charity that looks after greyhounds that have been retired from racing, because when they're retired from racing, their owners don't want anything to do with them. So they usually send them off to get shot or something. Yeah. By the way, I told you the story about my horse off air.
Yeah.
One very kind guy who has access to racing records actually got in touch with me and gave me the date upon which the horse ran. It was in 2003.
Right.
It broke its leg the following Monday. It is still alive. It's 13 years old.
It's not still racing, presumably, is it?
No, of course it's not. It couldn't race again after it broke its ankle. And it's still going, but it has also given birth to a foal.
Oh, really?
How about that?
No, very good. Well, maybe you should definitely go and visit the foal. Then,
well, I should go. I mean, I don't know. The foal might be a championship horse or something by now. Nobody's told me about it.
That was a bit of a tale of woe. There's more stuff coming in on dogs. A couple of people are saying they think the hunting dogs are called beagles.
Beagles, that's the one.
Are they called beagles?
Beagles, that's the one. I'll tell you who's got one. Peter Mandelson, and they've got lovely wet noses. And
most dogs have, haven't they?
No, but this is a really black nose. You know what I mean? And it looks great. It looks like a Wallace and Gromit type nose. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Here's one from Dougie in Edinburgh. It says, "Mike, tell Porky that Henry VIII died in 1547."
That's right. Yeah.
So you must have got the date wrong when he opened that school, presumably.
It was it was founded in 1548, so it must have been left in his affairs when he died, so to speak.
Very possibly. Ed in London says, Homo sapiens have been in existence for 100,000 plus years, not just 6,000 years. You can go back 3 million plus years for the first ancestors of man. Get it right, he says.
Yeah, well, I mean, what are we talking about here? Neanderthal man?
I suppose so.
I'm a Neanderthal man. Remember that?
I do remember that.
You're a Neanderthal girl. Let's make Neanderthal love in the Neanderthal world. I don't know, some group who only had one hit. Now, talking about dogs, by the way, I forgot to tell you something which I discovered this week. What do you think happens when the police burst into a drug dealer's house and seize him and all his drugs and then find his two dogs in the back room?
I presume they take the dogs into custody, don't they?
Yes, they do.
And give them to maybe the dog unit to look after?
They do.
Yeah.
How much do you think that costs the police forces?
What, on each occasion they do it?
No, the Thames Valley Police, which is an amalgamation of 3 counties, which I think is probably Berkshire, Oxfordshire and somewhere else, right? I don't know how far out it would go.
Hampshire, maybe?
No, Hampshire's on the south coast. It would be, let me think, it'd be Berkshire.
Buckinghamshire?
Could be Buckinghamshire, that's a good one, spent over £400,000 looking after dogs associated with criminals last year.
And what do? Do they just look after them and keep them
they put them in kennels.
Specific period of time? Or
no,
they
put them in kennels. Put them in kennels. They try not to put them down. They obviously have to hold... I mean, supposing the owner of the dog is seized, arrested, appears in court the next day, is remanded in custody for 3 months, pending trial, well, the guy might be innocent. So you can't shoot his dog, can you?
Well, you can't shoot his dog anyway, presumably.
Well, you might have to eventually if the dog,
I don't think that's what they do with the dogs, though, is it? I don't think they would actually shoot them.
I think they shoot a few of them eventually. I don't mean they massacre them. I mean the dogs are put down.
They would put them down in a humane way.
Yeah, in a humane way. Yeah,
I mean, they would shoot them.
No. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, like horses get shot, don't they? Dogs get put down. But there's absolutely no doubt about it that. They spend huge amounts of money because we are such a compassionate society.
Well, I suppose there isn't any alternative to that, is there?
Well, I don't know if that's a waste of taxpayers' money. I mean, I'm a dog lover and I'm a compassionate and humane and all that. But
so you keep saying.
Looking after all these dogs...
Well, what else would you suggest they do with them?
Well...
You can't just leave them roaming around inside the property, can you?
No, of course you can't. You've got to take them away but I think there should be a processing system, to be honest.
Well, there probably is.
A lot of them will be mangy dogs, won't they?
Mangy?
Yeah, they'll be, they'll have the mange because they've been...
The mange?
You know what I'm talking about, I mean, I'm not really explaining myself well here, but I mean, sometimes the sort of people who deal in drugs and who are of criminal intent and all that, they maybe, particularly if they're drug addicts themselves, they're not properly facilitated at all times to be able to look after their dog.
They might not have the right hand signals for the dogs, in other words.
Well, that's precisely right. They might not have the wherewithal to be able to look after the dog themselves. So who knows? On occasion it might be kinder, really, to put the dogs out of their misery or something like that.
Not kinder for the dogs, though. Neil from Manchester, I think, has finally got this one right. Tell Porky the fox hunting dogs are called foxhounds. I think that's what they are. I don't think they are beagles, actually. I think
they're beagles. I think they're beagles.
You do, because you call it hunting with hounds, don't you?
Hunting
you
with
don't call
hounds.
it hunting with beagles.
No, but I think they hunting with hounds. I think it's just an expression, isn't it? That's just to give the impression, the image of a bloke sitting on a horse and taking what do they have before they go off on racing? Is it a glass of whiskey or something?
No, they normally have sherry, I think.
Sherry, is it? Yeah, okay. Taking a glass of sherry,
sometimes
port or something like that, and then hunting with hounds makes a nice cover for a Christmas card or something like that, doesn't it? But I'm sure they're beagles. I'm pretty sure they're beagles, and I'm told they are, they're great affectionate dogs because they like to have something to do, so they want to go out and walk all the time and all that kind of stuff.
So they quite like to go out and sort of rip a fox to shreds. I saw a fox actually on the way in tonight. I saw two, in fact, driving in through London.
The urban fox is out of control.
Yeah.
It is completely out of control. Here, I'll tell you something I've seen. This is amazing. Yeah, I meant to tell you this.
What have you seen?
A fox climbing a ladder.
What?
A fox climbing a ladder.
When did you see that?
I saw that the other night.
You sure it wasn't a cat?
No, it's a fox. And what happens is there's a building in my street, and what are you looking like that for?
I just don't believe you've seen a fox climbing a ladder.
I saw a fox climbing a ladder. There's a building in my street.
Wasn't somebody with a fox outfit on?
No, you idiot. You know how big a fox is and how big a person is.
Yeah.
And what it is that there is scaffolding all around this property. It's being, something being done with the roof or something like that, okay? So what happens is the scaffolding comes along, they put all the scaffolding up, right? And then they have to put the ladders in place and bolt them to the scaffolding. So they can't take them away at the end of the day. If they did, it would take too long to unbolt them and all that kind of stuff.
But don't they normally take the one that goes down to the ground up so that people can't sort of rob anybody's house or something?
Well, this is precisely the point. So what they do is they, at the end of the day, they tie a plank to the bottom 6 rungs of the ladder. See what I mean?
There's quite a lot of planks in your part of the world, aren't there?
I'm not going to rise to that, Mike, because if you can't take this seriously...
I am taking it seriously.
So, this fox, right, first of all, it runs up the street, then it runs back, then it leaps on the path...
Were you on foot at this point? Were you watching it from the car or what?
I was watching it from the car.
OK.
I was in the car. And it then leaps, and because there's a plank on the bottom part of the ladder, it gets a grip. You see what I mean?
So it's quite a short plank, then?
Well, it was probably 4 feet, the plank, or something like that. You know what I mean?
So it leapt 4 feet in the air?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Easy. Oh, a fox can easily leap that distance, yeah. No problem at all. Well, it leapt off a wall, so it was only about 2 feet. You see what I mean? Off the wall was probably 2 feet. The plank was 2 feet up the ladder. Leaps onto the plank, and then I saw the fox going up the rungs of the ladder. It was amazing. It was an amazing sight.
With its paws?
With its paws.
And why was he going up the ladder anyway?
Well, I don't know. I mean,
Well, normally they're looking for food.
Yeah, they are looking for food, I know, but they're inquisitive. They're inquisitive animals, and so they were inquiring as to whether or not, there was a first-floor food store, I suppose.
And are there people living up there, or is it like an abandoned building?
No, it's a fully operational building. I mean, the problem is, because of EU rules, if you wanted to replace one tile on the roof of a building, you would have to surround that building with scaffolding, right, for about 3 days to allow somebody, a roofer, to go up and replace that tile.
For health and safety reasons.
And
it sounds like you'd have to fox-proof the ladders as well. I've never heard anything so ridiculous.
No, what I'm saying is, this is a definite urban development.
It is indeed. Let's talk to Graham, who's a Leicester fan up in Tamworth. Hello, Graham.
Good morning, lads.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Hi, Graham.
What are you making a fox on a ladder story?
Porky, I see a fox every Saturday at the King Power Stadium. He runs on the pitch. He plays football. It's amazing.
Yeah, I think that's because, of course, your team is known as the Foxes, yes?
Yeah, but I see a fox every Saturday and he plays football and runs on the pitch at half time and full time.
Yeah, but Graham, he's the mascot for Leicester City.
Is he?
Yes.
I never knew that.
Oh, well, that's all right, mate.
I thought it was real.
Have you ever seen him climbing a ladder, Graham?
No, I saw him having a fight, though. He had a fight once.
Yeah, well, he probably would, because he sounds like a bit of a...
There's a lot of that about at Leicester at the moment, isn't there?
Exactly, a troublesome individual. Did he get a mouthful from the manager?
No, he didn't. No, actually, I think the manager patted him on the back.
Oh, did he? Yeah, well, I think he probably would. But listen, all jokes aside, Graham, I hope that you will take seriously what I'm trying to say here, because this is a very significant urban development. I mean, we know that the urban fox is expanding at a fantastic rate. Are you
saying they're getting cleverer or something?
Well, I'm saying that they are becoming less and less frightened of their environment. Their environment now is domiciled. It's suburbia, and they are adapting to suburbia in the same way that cats and dogs have over the years. Cats and dogs aren't afraid of ladders, neither now are foxes.
Have you seen a dog climb a ladder as well?
Well, no, I haven't seen a dog climb a ladder, but a dog has no fear of a ladder, does it? I've seen cats climb.
Fear of a ladder?
Yeah.
Why would they have fear of a ladder?
Well, you understand what I'm saying. They have no fear of their environment.
They don't like walking under them because it's bad luck.
Look, on our internal vision system...
Our internal vision system?
Yeah, Tommy the Chimp.
Tommy the Chimp's on the internal vision system. We've got a siren for that. We must have an alarm for Tommy the Chimp.
I feel honestly, it reduces me to tears now seeing him in his cage. It's terrible. And a judge today in New York, just to recap for our listeners who weren't listening earlier, has turned, for some unknown reason, our producer is having a fit of giggles.
Yeah, he's cracking up in there.
Has turned down a plea for Tommy to be recognised as a person with human-like intelligence.
Yeah, because he's not human. We are the two Mikes. He's Mike Parry. I'm Mike Graham. Donna Harvey coming up to talk about Madonna next.
I can't explain glacial motion while Los Angeles don't drop into the ocean. I can't unfold the layers of mystery or piece together the tragedy of history, 'cause those lucky suckers, they don't have to work. Big 3D billboards and big 30-foot spurts. And everybody wants to be naked and famous. Everybody wants to be just like me. I'm naked and...
This is TalkSport Extra Time. We are the two Mikes. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. Lots of stuff coming in on the alien front, Mr. Parry, I have to say. We are going to talk about celebrities being naked and famous in a moment with Donna Harvey in San Diego. Pete Stowbridge says, how come numerous astronauts, including Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin and Story Musgrave, believe in life out in our galaxy and believe we have been visited in the past and are being visited now?
But there's no evidence of it.
Well, nobody knows if there's any evidence of it.
There's no evidence of it. You know, I mean, I will believe it when I see a picture of one. We've got very sophisticated photographic equipment in this world now, where we can have telescopes that take pictures of things that happened like hundreds of thousands of years ago, haven't we?
The Hubble Space Telescope.
Yeah, that's right, and all that kind of stuff. You know, so you know, if there was an alien floating around somewhere, we'd have a picture of it by now.
I suppose we would, but instead, what we have to put up with are pictures of Madonna.
That's right.
She did a big picture spread that was all over the papers this week. We're going to talk to Donna Harvey, not Madonna Harvey, who's from KOGO Radio in San Diego, and she's going to tell us how it's all gone down in America. LaDonna, very good morning to you.
Well, good morning to you too.
Yeah, hi, LaDonna. Great to have you on the show again. Thank you very much indeed. We're talking about your namesake, Madonna.
How's it a namesake?
Well, sorry, it sounds the same, doesn't it? Madonna, LaDonna.
Yeah, close enough.
Yeah, close enough, exactly. And if you think about it, G-H-I-J-K-L, LaDonna, M, Madonna. So it's very, very close. So stop picking, you know...
How did you explain that again?
J-K-L for LaDonna.
J-K-L?
Yeah, the alphabet. It's called the alphabet.
Okay.
All right, you idiot.
J-K-L.
LaDonna, and then next letter in the alphabet is M for Madonna, so it's very close indeed, OK? Now, LaDonna, what we're going to say to you... What we're going to say to you is that we've seen big spread pictures here of Madonna bearing her essentials, full-blown, full-on, no shame, you know, no sense of decorum, no sort of mystery about it, just in-your-face bosoms... And we're getting a bit tired of it over here. A woman aged 56 still thinks that she's got to expose herself.
Well, you know what? I'll be honest with you. If I was built like that in her age, I'd probably just walk through the streets naked just so I can say, "Look at how fabulous I am! I'm so fabulous. Check this out."
Why did she decide to do it? Because she's obviously been kind of trying to shock people for years and years and years and years, but people are not really shockable anymore, are they?
Not really. I think this was the beginning of a huge publicity thing for her because a couple of things have happened this week. She was naked again. She is now, I guess, the face of Versace, so that is a huge deal for her. She deposed Lady Gaga for that, and I believe somebody might have leaked some of her music, and so she's on a publicity roll. And if there's anybody who knows how to manipulate the press, it's her.
Oh, yeah, I know. I mean, we lived with her through the 80s when she just came onto the scene and then the 90s and all that. I would have thought Lady Gaga was the natural successor. Why have commercial institutions opted for an older and more mature woman against Lady Gaga, who herself is brilliant at currying favour with the public?
I think it's because they want to be seen as edgy, and she has always been seen as edgy. And frankly, she's the safe choice of the two. Madonna may be naked everywhere, but you're never going to catch her in a meat dress.
Yeah, well, absolutely right.
That's true. A lot of people, when they saw this latest photo shoot, were kind of slightly querulous about whether they were real, though, because they did look remarkably like a pair of those breasts that you buy to wear to a fancy dress party if you're pretending to be a woman.
Yeah.
If I had to guess, I would say that they're real. They look like the same boobs that we saw in the 80s.
Yeah, but I think they've been touched up picture-wise, not touched up, obviously, physically by anybody, but I think they've been airbrushed, to say the least, because they looked unnatural and unreal. What is Madonna's relationship status at the moment, LaDonna?
Why are you asking that?
Well, I want to know what the man in her life thinks about her flashing her assets at her age.
You sound so offended.
Yeah, I am.
He's quite a prude, really, in his kind of private moments. He's quite offended by the fact that Madonna looks that good at 56. You didn't look that good at 26.
Hell, I'm offended by that.
No. Would you let LaDonna answer the question? The relationship situation, LaDonna, please.
As far as I know, she's single, possibly dating, and most likely somebody much younger. And I'm sure that he would be thrilled to see everybody looking at the same assets that he looks at every day.
I mean, if she was still married to Guy Ritchie, she wouldn't be able to do that now.
Why?
Well, because Guy Ritchie would say, look, I don't want my wife publicly exposing herself to millions of people who will then ogle her body, something that should be intimate and private between a couple. But now that she's single, she's obviously hoping to, titillate and attract more men by appearing naked. And I think I think there's something morally wrong about that.
Yeah, I can tell you do, but I think she's just trying to, as LaDonna said, attract a few more sales for whatever it is she's up to, right?
Oh, absolutely. And she is she is the best person at marketing herself. She is a mediocre talent. She has a mediocre voice. She's very pretty. She's always been pretty, and she is as smart as a whip. So she's doing exactly what it is she has always done, which is use the every means necessary to get what she wants, which is, money.
Yeah.
And lots of it.
Now, I totally agree with you there, LaDonna. She markets herself because herself is her best possible asset. Average singer, I agree. Other people wrote her songs for her anyway. And an appalling actress, in my view. I saw her in Evita. Saw her in Evita when she played Eva Perron. Yeah. And just hopeless.
Yeah, she's never going to be a good actress, unfortunately. And but the other part of this is she's never going to be a Kardashian either. She has an aura about her. When you see Kim Kardashian's butt on display and she's all oiled up, there's something about that kind of makes you go, well, that's kind of gross.
Yeah,
you could have at least wiped the oil down just a little bit. OPEC is called. Take it back. But with Madonna, I think there's a little bit more class about it, even though it is still very titillating.
And does she still have a market musically for anybody who doesn't kind of remember her when she was in, massive in the 80s and the 90s? I mean, is she still getting young fans at this point?
I think that she definitely could, and here's why. Every time people have counted her out, she's come back roaring, and she's just really good at it. She's amazing.
I know.
You're very troubled by this, aren't you?
Well, I'm not troubled by it, but the thing is, I mean, she's doing this now at 56. What worries me is that she's going to be doing this at 76, because when you look
Why does that worry you?
Well, because it'll be even more gross than it is now, and she'll have to pump herself full of all sorts of drugs in order to maintain any sort of bodily form. I mean, thing is, LaDonna, you look at Joan Collins these days. She's 82 now, Joan Collins. She looks magnificent. Mm-hmm. But we only ever see her face, because she's got the dignity to cover the rest of herself up. I bet you Madonna will be looking like some really scraggy old bint when she's in her...
very nice.
Well, no, when she's in her 70s, but she will have these pictures airbrushed and cosmetic surgery, maybe.
You could do with a bit of that.
Why?
You know what? I would. Are you kidding? When they start going south, I'm lifting those bad boys right back up where they belong. Yeah. I don't blame her.
Well said, Madonna's namesake. LaDonna Harvey, thank you very much indeed. She's from KOGO Radio. You've really got some very odd views about this, haven't you?
Why?
Well, do you think you live in a Victorian era or something?
I don't think women of 56 should go around flashing their assets.
Well, if they look like that, I don't see what the problem is.
And I bet you I'm right. I bet you the older she gets, she'll get more desperate for attention. In her 70s, she will still be exposing her body nakedly, and there should be a law against it.
Well, if she wants to do it, I think it's entirely her decision. I don't think there should be a law against it at all. Absolutely unbelievable.
I'm sorry.
Well, what about all that nonsense about, this is only something that her husband should see?
Well, okay, you think I'm old-fashioned, but I'm afraid somebody around here's got to have values. If we look at your relationship history, Mike, that says it all about...
how long it take you to get around to that.
Yeah, that says everything about your attitude towards women.
Look at the time.
Lack of dignity.
Look at the time. This is Talk Sport Extra Time. We are the two Mikes. Coming up next, it's time for the Porky quiz on general knowledge, or lack thereof. This is Talk Sport.
I'm a little intellectual, someone who knows it all. I could be a song special. You could be my New York on my doll. Smaller than you, smaller than you, smaller than you. Can't you see I'm smaller than you, smaller than you, smaller than you. Can't you see I'm a German calculator.
This is the two Mikes on Talk Sport. It is that time of the night when we give Porky a quiz. This week the quiz is on general knowledge. This is not part of the quiz, but any idea who that was, that song? Any idea who that song was?
That sounded to me like somebody like Elvis Costello.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's not a million miles away, I suppose, in terms of the time frame.
Yeah.
There's the Undertones.
The Undertones.
Remember them?
Some punk group, were they?
Yeah, they were from Northern Ireland.
Oh, were they? Right, OK. Now, on this quiz, I mean, general knowledge, it's such a wide-reaching...
It is a wide-ranging
I don't mind doing
quiz.
it on a specialist subject that I've studied during my lifetime, but you just pull these in from anywhere, designed deliberately to try and make me look oafish, right? But I have confidence and belief in my own intelligentsia level, so let's get on with it.
Your intelligentsia levels will be truly tested.
Let's get on with it.
Well, you did choose general knowledge.
No,
so
I
that's
didn't.
Why,
no, I didn't.
You chose it on Monday night.
No, I wasn't consulted about it.
Right. Anyway, everybody heard you saying it. Obviously, as per usual, these have been compiled by independent quiz masters. If you get something correct, you will hear this sound.
Bzzz, air dryer! Oh, right, OK, I quite like that.
You said that earlier. If you get something wrong, you will hear this.
You are a sad, strange little man, and you have my pity.
Yes, it's a bit harsh, that. You see, turning the audience against me again.
Well, I don't have to do that. Are you ready for question number one?
I am.
What is the Pythagoras theorem?
It's about the size of a triangle.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell us what it actually is, though?
Yeah, it's about two sides of a triangle equaling the third.
I think that's good enough.
Air dryer! Thank you.
One out of one.
Hey.
Question. Look how excited he is.
Yeah.
Question number two. What is currently the UK #1 single?
When you dream of a dream and you live in the world.
Well, that must be 1D. That must be 1D. One Direction.
Is that your answer?
Sorry?
Is that your answer?
That's my answer, yes.
Incorrect.
You are a sad, strange little man.
So who is it?
Have my pity.
Let's take that.
No.
Would you like to have another listen to it?
No, I don't want to listen to it, no,
neither do I. No. Don't think anybody does. But anyway, it's These Days by Take That. 1 out of 2.
How am I supposed to know that? I don't spend all day listening to Radio 1. Is it Radio 1?
Well, you don't have to listen to it. You should just know these things.
I should know these things.
And also, if it had been my idea, I wouldn't have had them play you the song, because you could have told it would Take That just by listening to it.
No, I can't, mate. I'm not an aficionado of take that. No.
Well, let's move on.
Anyway, that's the first time that they've had a single as a threesome, as a trio,
is it?
Rather than a foursome or a fivesome. So I wouldn't have been able to tell anyway. Trick question.
Question number 3. What is the span of the Forth Road Bridge?
What do you mean?
How long is it?
What, in feet?
In feet, if you wish.
What a ridiculous question.
Why is that ridiculous?
How am I supposed to know to the foot how long they...
Well, we'll give you a bit of leeway if you get it somewhere close.
Which bridge are we talking about?
The Forth Road Bridge.
Not the Humber.
Hey?
Not the Humber Road Bridge.
Not the Humber, no. The Forth Road Bridge.
Not the Bristol one.
Not the Bristol
Bridge. Not the Severn one.
No. The Forth Road Bridge.
Not the Dartford Crossing.
In Scotland.
Forth Road Bridge. Now, that's the odd-shaped one, isn't it?
It's not the Golden Gate Bridge either.
It's got several sort of pillars, but they're funny-shaped pillars. I would say it is... And it goes over the River Forth, yeah?
That's why it's called the Forth Road Bridge.
Yeah, OK. And that's in... let me just think. That's in eastern Scotland.
It is.
I would say it's 1/4 of a mile.
Incorrect.
You are a sad, strange little man.
It's 1.5 miles.
Oh, no, it's not. Not single span.
It is.
No, it's not.
It's 1.5 miles.
It is not.
It is 1.5 miles, 2.5 kilometres.
It cannot be.
It is.
Otherwise, it would be the longest in the world. No.
It used to be the longest in the world.
No, it can't be. It can't be. I'm sorry, that's completely wrong.
It's not wrong.
No, there must be a stanchion in the middle. It's not 1.5 miles long from one bank to the next without something in the middle supporting it.
Well, of course it's got something in the middle supporting it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a suspension bridge.
No, but I mean, it goes into the water below.
Yeah, I know it does.
Yeah, it doesn't
well,
hang on its own.
How long it was.
It doesn't hang on its own like the Golden Gate Bridge from one bank of the river to the other. Does it?
No, it doesn't.
Right, well, there you go. It's a bum question.
I didn't ask you that.
Yes, you did.
I asked you how long it was.
No, you didn't.
You got it wrong. 1 out of 3. Question number 4.
Question.
What famous battle has its anniversary on the 22nd of August?
Which famous battle on the 22nd of August?
22nd of August.
22nd of August. What era are we talking about?
Well, that would be too much of a clue, I think.
Are you talking about the Civil War, the English Civil War?
It is a battle in England, I'll tell you that.
Battle in England. What's the date again?
22nd of August.
That must be the Battle of Hastings.
Incorrect.
You are a sad, strange little man, and you have my pity.
And what's the answer?
The answer is the Battle of Bosworth Field.
The Battle of Bosworth Field?
Yeah.
Well, that's in Leicestershire.
In 1485.
What a ridiculous question,
What's
honestly.
the fact that it's in Leicestershire got anything to do with it?
Well, you know, in those days, they had different time zones.
Different time zones?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, they did, honestly, for different parts of the country.
Well,
because it would take 10 days to get from Scotland to England. So there was always a date time elapsing between the two.
Well, it's still the 22nd of August.
Well, I think it's a rubbish question. That's just such a stupid question.
1 out of 4.
Nobody's ever heard of the Battle of Bosworth Field anyway, except me.
Really?
And I didn't rate it as being in August. I thought that was in April.
Yeah. Well, the Battle of Hastings wasn't in April or August.
No, it wasn't.
So that was your answer. Question number 5. What is a megabyte?
A megabyte?
Yes.
Well, it's a measure of computer capacity.
Mm-hmm. What exactly is it, though?
I've just told you.
That's not the answer. I'm looking for a number.
It's 1,000.
1,000 what?
Bytes.
Incorrect.
You are a
Don't be
sad,
ridiculous.
strange little man.
Well, what's the answer
Have my
then?
pity.
I'm told that we can give you half a point for that.
Why? What's the
The answer is 1 million bytes. So it's not really 1,000. But because you said it was a measure of computer memory, we'll let you have half a point.
I got the answer, and then you asked me another question. So I'm demanding the whole point.
No, you get 1.5.
You asked me what is a megabyte. I said it's a measure of computer capacity. That to me is the right answer.
I'm giving you 1.5 so
if you
far
said
out
to
of
me,
5.
if I said to you what's France and you said to me a country, I'd say right, that's right.
That would be a pretty easy question.
I wouldn't
though,
then follow it by saying, oh, in which continent? So no, I'm sorry, it's a trick question.
1.5 out of 5. Question number 6. What is the name of the deepest ocean trench in the world? You should get this one.
Well, it's in the Pacific Ocean.
It is. I'm not sure if they have different time zones in the Pacific Ocean, do they?
They have 7 across the Pacific Ocean.
OK. What's the name of the trench?
Well, what's it matter the name of the trench? I've told you which oceans it's in. And anyway, the trench is known by several different names.
Is it?
Yes.
Well, just give me one of them then.
OK, one of them is the San Fernando-Ez.
San Fernando-Ez?
Yeah.
No, I don't think that's it.
Well,
is that your answer?
It's one of them. That's one of the names of it.
The deepest ocean trench in the world.
Yes,
is not called that.
Well, what do you think it's called?
That's not what I think it's called. Do you want me to tell you what it's called?
Well, you can tell me what you think it's called, yeah.
It's called the Mariana Trench.
Mariana? Never heard it called that before.
I'm demanding a point. Strange little man.
I demand a point.
1.5.
And by the way, I don't like this. I don't like this. You got it wrong. Thing that you're running because it's.
Do you not know who it is?
Repetitively stupid.
Do you know who it is?
Sorry, makes me absolutely repetitively stupid. Sorry.
Do you know whose voice it is?
No, I don't actually.
You should know whose voice it is.
Well, it's not my voice.
No, but it's one of your favourite people's voices.
Oh, really?
Like have another listen to it when you get this one wrong. Number 7.
Yeah.
Who currently holds the Olympic high jump record?
Olympic high jump. I'm not a great athletics fan, and this is a very unfair question. It's a very unfair question.
Well, you could get half a point if you name the country that the person comes from.
He's a high jumper.
Or which Olympics the record was set in.
Well, I assume it was set in the last Olympics. They usually are, because people are getting bigger every year, so they jump higher. So, can't remember where the last Olympics was.
You can't remember where the last Olympics was?
Oh, it was in London, wasn't it? That's right, yeah. So I would say London, and I'd say he's an American.
He is an American, so I'll give you half a point for that.
Right, there you go.
But it's actually from 1996.
96? My God, that's a long time ago.
If you can tell me where they were, I'll give you another half a point.
The 96 Olympics? Yeah. They were in... let me see... now, hang on. 96...
I'll have to hurry you on this because we've still got 3 more questions.
96 Olympics were in Atlanta, Georgia.
Correct. So that means you get an entire point for that.
There you go.
The guy's name was Charles Austin.
Charles Austin.
2.39 metres.
Actually,
quite surprising that hasn't been broken since 96.
Funnily enough, I saw that happen. I was at those Olympics.
You were?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Well, I'm very glad you didn't remember it then.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
that's 2.5 out of 7. Question number 8. You should get this one. What is 500 kilometres in miles?
What?
What is 500 kilometres in miles?
Hang on, let's work it out. Wait a minute. 500 kms. Now, a kilometre is 5/8 of a mile. So, if you work that out... So, hang on.
We've only got about a minute left.
No, wait a minute. If I divide 50 by 8... That's 8 into 50 goes 6. Hang on.
So you want a calculator?
Wait a minute. No, I don't need a calculator. 6, 8, 48, 20 left over. That's 2.5. So it's 2.5 times 5. So hang on, I'm getting close. So that's 315 miles.
I'll give you that.
Thank you.
Very well done.
Thank you.
It's actually 310.68.
Well, you see, 315 is more accurate.
That's 3.5 out of 8 so far. So let's see if you can get your normal 3.5 out of 10. Number 9. Where are the 4 corners?
What?
Where are the 4 corners?
4 corners of what?
The 4 corners of nothing, just the 4 corners.
Do you mean corner, like
yes.
corner shop?
Yes.
Where are the 4 corners?
Where are the 4 corners?
What a ridiculous question. There's 4 corners in this room.
Actually, there's more than 4 corners in this room because it's not technically a square.
It's a stupid question.
There is a place called the 4 Corners.
The 4 Corners?
Yes.
It's a town, is it?
It's not a town as such. It's a place.
4 Corners. It's not the Giant's Causeway, is it, in Ireland?
No, that's the Giant's Causeway.
Right, OK. Let me see. The 4 Corners...
Yeah, no, do you?
Well...
You got no
well,
more time.
I've never heard of the 4 Corners.
Okay.
I've been around the world 3 times.
Really?
So it must have been a really
Maybe you should have
remote...
gone 4 times.
A really remote, sort of downbeat place.
Well, it's in the United States of America. It's the one part of the USA where 4 states actually meet. And it's a place where people go and have their picture taken. It's where Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona and Utah meet.
I've been to Arizona many, many times.
Well, then you should have known where the 4 corners were.
I shouldn't know that at all.
That's wrong, then.
You are a sad, strange little man.
There we
have
are.
my pity.
Yeah, well, that's a sad, strange little question.
You're on course for getting 3.5 out of 10, unless you can answer this last question correctly. It's a film question. Which British actress stars in the 2014 thriller Gone Girl?
Well, how am I supposed to know that? How am I supposed to know that?
Well, you go to the cinema, don't you?
Well, since we've been doing Bond all night, why didn't you ask me about an actress in a Bond film?
Because
that would have been more.
We'll do a Bond quiz some other time.
That would have been more suitable to our listenership, who have great empathy and sympathy for me in these quizzes, by the way, because you gerrymander them so badly. Well, the answer is Keira Knightley.
Incorrect.
You are a sad, strange little man.
It is Rosamund Pike, who, by a bizarre coincidence, is a former Bond girl.
I've never heard of Rosamund Pike.
Haven't you?
Never, ever heard of her. I've heard of Pike.
We were supposed to interview her
in the
once.
Home Guard.
We were supposed to interview her on the mid-morning show.
Were we? Why didn't we?
Because you quit.
Oh, really? Oh, right, yeah. Oh, well, yeah, that was a bit of a problem,
It was a massive problem, so I was looking forward to meeting her, but never mind.
Yeah.
Anyway, so 3.5 out of 10. We'll give him a cheer for that, shall we?
Yeah, I want a cheer, please.
You want to get a cheer for that?
Yeah.
That's what you normally get. And so good to see that you are. There's nobody cheering back there.
It's another damn disgrace, that. So, another gerrymandered.
General knowledge, 3.5 out of 10.
Disgrace.
Unbelievable. This is TalkSport Extra Time with the two mics. Alan Brazil, of course, coming up with the sports breakfast at 6 o'clock. Jason McAteer in the studio with him this morning as well.
Oh, Jason, eh?
Yeah, no, I wanted to talk to you about something before we talk to Warren Barton about the football and everything else. You've told me that you've invented a new way of parking cars. Now, this has been troubling me for a while, because you know how they advertise these cars that park themselves?
Yeah.
I'm not sure that they actually do park themselves.
I wouldn't trust it. I wouldn't trust it.
Do they park themselves?
Well, it's all on sensors, and different cars have different sensors and all that.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the ones that actually supposedly move themselves into a parking space.
Yeah, but it's all done on sensors. That's what I'm saying to you. The sensors emit from underneath the car towards the curb, so they don't hit the curb and all this kind of stuff, you know?
But how does it work then? So you just park the car kind of adjacent to the space you want to go into and then let it do the rest?
You know, like if you were, what they call in America, double parking, you know. Well, it's like
parallel parking.
Parallel parking.
Yeah.
You're parallel parked to the space, not to a car.
Right.
And then the space is there, so you technically you only need like 6 inches front and back.
Right.
And the car just slides in, just slides you in. And
so you don't touch anything, the car just does it for you?
Yeah. If you touch anything, the car will go mad.
Right.
So you just have to leave it.
You wouldn't want that.
No, you wouldn't want that at all, no. But what I don't understand is, how can a car move sideways if the wheels are pointing forward?
Well, I don't think it does move sideways, you see. I mean, there are certain cars that might do that, but I think these cars that they're talking about now that they advertise as parking themselves, you park presumably ahead of where you want to go and it reverses in for you. That's what I'm talking about. That's the bit I don't understand. I'm not sure if they've actually got that technology yet.
I don't think they've got that technology. Otherwise, you'd have to have 4 little wheels that came down from underneath the car, lifted the car off the road and moved you sideways into your slot, wouldn't you?
Well, you would, yeah, and I don't think that's what they've got.
No, that'd be like a vertical takeoff and landing aircraft, wouldn't it?
So what's your system then?
Well, it's not my system. It's the system they use in every American car park. What I'm saying is, in this country, right, think of a row of cars in the Asda car park, OK? You drive in, you turn left into the first row, and then you have to turn left at 90 degrees into your slot.
Yeah.
Or you turn right at 90 degrees into your slot, OK?
Right.
Or you back 90 degrees into your slot, left or right.
OK.
Well, you know as well as I do, Mike, in America, it's all herringbone style. They're all feathered to 45 degrees.
Not all of them are.
Most of them are. The
difference with the car parks in America is they're much bigger because they leave much more space because they've got much more space. I mean, the problem with car parking in this country is there isn't enough space for enough car parks.
Yeah, but I'm saying that the car park setup in America is herringbone. They're feathered. You never see right-angled car parking. You see 45-degree angled car parking.
I'm not going to.
And that's a much more sensible way of doing it. You're only allowed to park head-on.
Yeah.
You can't back into the spaces because that just confuses everybody when they're leaving the parking space, if you see what I mean.
Right.
And you just drive in. You drive straight in at 45 degrees. You're parked solid. There's plenty of room then for you to get out of your car without banging your door into the car, which is next to you, because of course though it's next to you, it's 3 feet further on than you are because of the nature of the 45-degree angle. And it's much safer, much easier.
It is, but there's an obvious reason, as I say, why that's not being done, because there isn't space for it. We don't have that kind of space. In America, you can build a massive car park because there's nothing there.
No, you don't understand. You don't understand, do you?
I do.
Because you haven't got the mathematical brain that I have. On herringbone feather parking, you use exactly the same amount of space as you do if you're parking at a right angle.
I'm not sure that's true.
Of course you do. Where do you think the extra space is needed?
Well, because if you're parking cars diagonally into a curb,
yes,
you get many fewer of them than if you park them straight into a curb.
No, you don't. Only at the bottom and the top, so to speak. You only lose one car space.
Well, you'd lose quite a few, I think.
No, you wouldn't. No. Utter nonsense. And so that's what we should do in this country.
I thought you had some amazing new theory about how to park a car.
No, I had an amazing new piece of information from America about the systems of parking cars, and we know how they park them, because you and I have parked in millions of Walmart car parks across America in that system. The number of cars that get damaged in American car parks is 1% of the number of cars that get damaged in car parks in this country.
It's nothing to do with the herringbone system.
Of course
it has everything to do with the fact that English car parks are very, very small, and the spaces to which you have to put your car in are too small.
No, that's not true. I've already told you, and this is another factor which is extremely relevant, that in the last 5 years, car crashes in car parks in this country have gone up 140% because the cars are getting bigger, but the car parking spaces aren't.
Yeah, exactly.
And the reason the cars are getting bigger is because people are getting fatter and fatter and fatter. Right?
Yeah, well, I know you're obsessed with that. Also, I'm told...
Do you remember the Ford Anglia?
Yes, I do.
I mean, that car was so tiny, without being disrespectful to you, although it doesn't usually bother me.
It doesn't normally, no.
You couldn't get two people your size into the front of a Ford Anglia.
Probably not.
You're going to get one person your size.
Or some of those old minis as well.
Yeah, that's right.
The herringbone system, I'm told, encourages traffic flow because you can only enter the space from one direction.
I said that. I just said that.
You didn't say that.
I did. You can't back in because if you did, you'd have to do a U-turn and then reverse it at 45 degrees. You just drive straight in and then you back straight out. So all the cars at all times are going in the same direction.
Yeah. The problem for you is that you can't see why American car parks don't have so many accidents, and it's simply because the cars there, which are huge, have got much bigger space to park in.
But the cars aren't huge in America anymore, are they?
Yeah, they are.
They've got... No, it's not. They've got the reverse situation.
When was the last time you were in America?
Not as recently as you.
No.
But, I mean...
They've still got plenty of big cars, don't worry.
Right. Let me tell you this. The situation is that since the oil embargoes of the 1970s...
Yes.
American cars have been getting progressively smaller. We all know that. You don't get cars the same size as the 70s now.
No, but a lot of people are driving around in
engines.
SUVs and big four-wheel drive things.
Maybe.
And those are huge, massive.
Maybe. But what I'm saying is there are literally tens of millions of Japanese cars in America now, which are the same size as the Japanese cars in this country.
That's true.
But they are parking in spaces previously designed for Cadillacs. And so
Cadillacs are a lot smaller as well.
So, yeah, they are. No, they are now. But in the when all these supermarkets were built in the 50s, 60s, 70s, they were built with huge parking spaces. And now the cars going into them are smaller. It's the reverse situation of what's happening in this country. You need to do your studying and your research, Mike, on car parking technology, because I am a bit of an expert on it.
Yes, I know you are.
So you won't catch me out on it.
Maybe we'll have to give you a quiz on car parking technology coming up in the coming weeks. But have you seen any of these herringbone techniques used here?
No, we don't use them here.
Anywhere at all?
Don't use them. We're too thick. Too thick to apply to it. You get some guy building a £100 million supermarket out of town and all that, and he builds right-angle car parking spaces so loads of people are going to smash into each other.
But that's surely because, basically, in this country, space is at an absolute premium. I mean, you would have been cheered up.
You keep saying that, and I keep telling you there's no difference between 45-degree herringbone parking and parking at 90 degrees right on, which causes accidents. Keep trying to tell you that.
I don't think that's true. I was assuming as well that you would have been cheered up earlier on this week when the government announced they were going to spend a load of money on new roads, building new roads, a lot of them up in the northeast,
Love it.
A lot of them up in Yorkshire. Not the M63, strangely enough.
No, not the M63, but fortunately there is talk of extending not the M27, which really should be called the South Coast Highway, right, because that's what it is, or so it's supposed to be. But it's supposed to run from Cornwall to Kent. But, of course, over the years, I mean, there's one spot. If you come out of Portsmouth and turn right, you can. If you're going to London, you'd go up the A3M, right? But if you decided to go the other way to London, you'd keep going along the M27, right, which then turns into the A27.
Which is an awful road.
It's dreadful. You go through Lancing and you go through Arundel, and eventually you pick up the M23, which is the motorway that Gatwick's on, that takes you up to London. But a few years ago, they knocked down like hundreds of houses and ploughed a furrow through a field to extend the M27, then ran out of money and didn't do it.
Yeah.
So you can actually drive past and see this space, and that's all it is.
Well, they've got this very good bit of it. It goes past the Amex Stadium, doesn't it, down by Brighton?
Yeah, but that's about as far as it goes. Well, sorry, that's when you get to Brighton. That's right, yeah. But I mean...
But that's only a little short bit of motorway.
Yeah, but between Brighton and Portsmouth, basically, you've got a bit of dual carriageway, but lots of... Like, you pass through towns, villages. It's outrageous.
But the thing about all this supposed good news about rebuilding the roads...
But anyway, they're going to extend the carriageway.
Well, you know what it's going to mean? It's going to mean that for the foreseeable future, all of these roads that are going to be extending are going to be an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
There's going to be, temporary traffic lights. It's going to be dug up.
Well, you just got to put up with that because we need more roads. We should build hundreds of more roads in this country. Roads take up hardly any space at all, and there's lots of space for road building in this country. What everybody says, we're a crowded little town, country, an island, and all this. You know as well as I do, if you get on a train going out of London, whether you're going on the North East line, which takes you past...
up through York, that way.
Yeah, I meant coming out of London, it takes you past the Emirates Stadium. Or you're going on the North West line, which takes you past Wembley Stadium. Within about 4 or 5 miles... urban London peters out, and then you pass through nothing but fields for the next 200 miles.
Because it's called Greenbelt, isn't it?
Yeah, fine. Well, we should knock down... I think we should build on lots of the Greenbelt.
But things have been
too much Greenbelt. Too much Greenbelt. Too much Greenbelt.
Things that you eat.
Well, not a lot of it is. In a lot of it, you just see a load of cows and sheep grazing and all that kind of stuff.
Well, you eat cows and sheep.
Yeah, of course you do. Of course you do. I'm not saying that they're useless. I'm saying there's lots of them, lots of fields. Now, you should build a load of roads through these fields. Why do you think, Mike, here's a question for you. Why do you think nobody in this country has ever been to Norwich apart from people who live there?
Lots of people have been to Norwich.
No, they haven't. No, they haven't.
Like people who go to Norwich football.
No, and do you know why? Because there's no motorway to Norwich. That's an absolute disgrace. There's no motorway to East Anglia. There is no motorway to East Anglia.
But that doesn't mean people haven't gone there.
No motorway.
That's ridiculous.
And that's why people don't go to Norwich.
That's not true.
No, nobody's gone to Norwich. Nobody's been to Norwich.
I don't think
unless you're a football fan, you've been to see your team. Why would anybody go to Norwich?
Lots of people go to Norwich for all sorts of reasons. People go to university there.
There's no motorways there.
Anyway, look into the light for a minute because it's that time. We're going to talk to Sandra Lee coming up in a moment. This is Talk Sport. We are the two Mikes. If you've ever been to Norwich and you don't live there, do let us know.
Nobody goes there.
Text us on
There's nothing to go there for. There's no motorway.
Look into the light. It's that time. We are the two Mikes.
Do you come from a land down under? Women go and men plunder. Can't you hear the thunder? You better run, you better take cover.
I am, as usual, sorry to interrupt you there. I wanted to get in first.
You haven't interrupted me because I haven't started talking yet.
As usual, getting terrific support from the listenership about the way that you cheated again in the quiz.
I don't think I cheated at all.
How about this from Michelle?
I gave you a couple of half points that weren't actually the right answers to the question I asked you.
All right. Well, I hear Michelle, who's a big fan of the station, says, Mike, you should have had a full point for the bites question. Old MG up to his gerrymandering tricks again. Points for Porky, 10 out of 10.
Well, you would have got 4 points instead of 3.5 out of 10 if that was the case.
And then Dennis says, this is a great one, this is Dennis. He says, here in the USA, so he's actually communicating with us from the United States of America.
Indeed.
You would be shocked at how many try to park in reverse in 45% angle parking spots. They are fender benders, says Dennis. But there's an even better one here.
What, you mean in the Herringbone car park?
In the Herringbone car park.
And reverse into them. You said that didn't happen.
Well, I'm saying it shouldn't happen because it's designed, the way they're designed, it's not supposed to happen.
Well, it obviously does happen.
It's supposed to make people feel completely awkward doing a U-turn backwards in their car to get into a 45-degree slot. But an even better one from the United States of America, from William, who says, I have to agree with you, Porky, about that question about the four corners. Here in the USA, hardly anybody would know the answer to that awful question.
Well, so that's not my problem.
That's such a duplicitous question.
60% of people in America don't even have a passport. Doesn't surprise me they wouldn't know the answer to it.
That's such a duplicitous question, you know?
And I've got one actually here from someone who's made a mistake, who says that the question was wrong, that they're not actually called the four corners. This is from Alan in London. It's not the four corners, it is the four flags, which is not true. It is known as the four corners.
If you just had the four flags, I don't know what you're talking about.
Would you?
I would have known.
Really?
I want to point by default there.
It's called the four corners.
The four flags.
And then he says, what happened to the Mars visitor? I can only assume that he's been
pushed off to Mars.
He's been kidnapped by aliens, I'm afraid. But we'll keep trying to get him on. A couple of people from Norwich have got something to say about you as well. Paul in Cambridge says, cheers me up on a Friday morning, you guys. He says, you can get to Norwich from London via the M11 onto the A11, which is now dual carriageway all the way to Norwich. Not motorway granted, but certainly good enough.
But it goes on forever. It goes on forever.
Well, that doesn't mean you can't get it. John from Norwich says, great show. Can you tell Porky that just because there is no motorway to Norwich, it doesn't mean that no one goes there? What a complete plonker.
No, if you could go to... Supposing, like, Norwich is a sort of opposite kind of Stoke, if you see what I mean, to the right, OK?
Yes.
Now,
on the same latitude, you mean?
Yeah, on the same latitude. Now, if you could go up the A1, right, up to about somewhere equivalent to Stoke and Norwich would be round about sort of Nottingham,
right,
or a bit higher up, maybe Rotherham or something like that, OK? And then turn right down a motorway into East Anglia, you'd get to Norwich in no time at all. It would open up East Anglia. It would become an absolute economic hotspot. It would create wealth. It would bring the region forward by 10 years, and it would be spectacular.
There don't seem to be any plans in the new expenditure on roads, though,
well, I just don't understand
any new roads
right,
there.
now I've got a great one here from Tony. I think this is a lady, because it's spelled Toni. And you know what I said about having exotic names? Her name is Tony Nicholas Tandy.
Oh, very nice.
Not bad, is it? It says, right, Mike, we went on holiday to East Anglia. We had a lovely time, but would never return. The journey was a nightmare. You are absolutely right. A motorway is needed. See, that's fantastic, the way I'm in touch.
A motorway may well be needed.
With the listenership.
But your point was that nobody goes there because
I'm
there isn't
in touch
one.
with the listenership.
Do. Martin has tweeted at IROMG. He says, I visited Norwich 3 times this week. Judging by the traffic, I'm not the only one. But the roads are terrible.
Yeah, well, there you go, you see. I keep telling you, you don't know these things, Mike. You don't know how closely allied I am to the thinking of our listenership.
Is that right?
Millions of people listen to TalkSport every day, and I reckon I'm on point-blank communication process in the mind with them.
Point-blank?
Yeah, with 97% of the listenership of TalkSport.
Do you think so?
Say. Yeah, I
That's
would.
called self-delusion, I think.
No. I don't think you've got a starting point with the mental... equivalency.
You're starting to get delirious again, aren't you?
Equivalency.
This is what happened when we were going to Cheltenham that time.
With equivalency with the audience. I had to say it, Mike, but the word out of touch is right. Now, guess what?
Go on. You've spotted something else.
I have just opened tomorrow morning's Daily Express because it's happened to be here. This morning's. There is a picture of the Forth Bridge in an advert.
Oh, there you go.
Right, how many stanchions has that got in the middle?
That's the Forth Rail Bridge.
It's not.
Yes, it is.
It's the Forth Bridge.
No, it's the Forth Rail Bridge.
Forth Bridge.
It's the Forth Rail Bridge, famous because whenever they start painting it, they never stop because by the time they've finished one end, they have to start again at the other end.
What else is it famous for?
That's the famous... well, it was also famous for... was it not in the 39 Steps?
It was
as well?
in the 39 Steps. And Kenneth... what's his name?
Kenneth, what's his name? Kenneth Moore?
Kenneth Moore, because he also played Douglas Bader.
He did.
He got out the train and scampered underneath the Forth Railway Bridge.
To escape the bad guys.
He certainly did.
They're supposed to be building another crossing as well, by the way, which is going to be a road crossing. But the Forth Road Bridge is the one which looks a bit like the Golden Gate Bridge. It's a suspension bridge.
It's not a mile and a half long.
It is a mile and a half long.
Now, listen.
I used to drive over it regularly.
Listen, you're going to fall out with me in January, right?
Why?
Now, you won't believe this, but apparently there is a leading weight loss expert in this country.
Is there?
And his name is Steve Miller.
OK. Not from the Steve Miller Band.
I was about to say, used to be a
Steve Miller gastric band he could have, couldn't he?
Steve Miller gastric band, yeah. The Steve Miller Band, was that the band that supported Bob Dylan?
Well, they may have done, but they sang Fly Like an Eagle, is the song I know from them.
OK, anyway... now, he says that you've got to be cruel to be kind, and the weight situation is going completely out of control. So he has written to the Health Secretary, whose name is Jeremy Hunt, and he is suggesting that on Wednesday, January the 7th, because it's first sort of Wednesday after the New Year, the government should designate it as Tell a Friend Their Fat Day.
That seems a bit cruel, doesn't it?
No. Tell a friend their fat day. He says that the only way that people are going to actually take stock of their own weight is for it to be brought to their attention, but not by an enemy. Because what was the famous quote?
Keep your friends close, but your enemies closer.
No. It was...
What was it then?
It was, and this was...
You're still trying to think of it,
No, this is Franklin D. Roosevelt.
Oh, yeah.
Give me not the man who can put down his enemies, give me the man who can put down his friends.
Okay.
Great quote. You know what that means? That means that, you've got to be strong enough to actually upset your friends as well as your enemies. It's easy to upset your enemies. Anybody can upset their enemies, can't they?
Actually, yeah.
Right. Now, so what he's saying is that, you've got to be cruel to be kind. You've got to tell your friends they're fat. That's the only way there'll be self-awareness. And it should be, as I said, officially named, Tell a Friend Their Fat Day.
I can't see the government adopting this as any kind of, particularly not in an election year. It doesn't sound like very positive to me.
He says, this Mr. Miller, who is this...
Steve, as we like to call him.
Steve, leading weight loss expert. He says you can adopt a caring and gentle approach. That can be essential in some relationships. But the proposal is to inspire fat people and help them realise they're capable of shedding the excess flab.
Yeah,
well, I think that's a great idea.
One of the problems I have with you
think that is a great
on this
idea.
show is that you don't actually go... I don't think you can go for more than about an hour and a half without mentioning, as you regard to call them, fat people.
Yeah.
You seem to have some kind of obsession about it. And as many people point out on Twitter, I don't think either one of us can exactly make out that we are sylph-like and not... in need of shedding a few pounds. But I don't understand why you're always going on about it all the time.
I'll tell you why I'm going on about it, Mike, because as I keep telling you, I'm the only one who realises that we're all getting bigger, and I want to translate that into making goals bigger in football. And I'm going to start a campaign in the new year to make this official.
Well, I hope it's more successful in your campaign to free Tommy the Chimp.
That was out of my control, because that's happening in America, and there's not a lot I could do about that. Save going over there and campaigning outside Tommy's cage, which I might still do, actually. I feel very strongly about it. But people are getting bigger, and I need examples from every area of life when people are getting bigger. The cinema in Malvern, where they've had to build the seats bigger. The fact that, we've got to make car park spaces bigger.
Cars are certainly getting bigger, aren't they?
Cars are getting bigger. The fact that man himself is getting bigger, that's a physical fact, OK? And when I relate this to you about we now need to actually tell each other we're fat because it's now becoming sort of acceptable to be large. I mean, I saw a piece the other day written in one of these women's magazines, that there's a certain type of woman who likes a fat and, quote, cuddly man.
Yeah.
Because they like to feed him up over dinner and all that kind of stuff. Well, that means that fatness is becoming an acceptable part of life, and even to some people, becoming attractive. Well, what's attractive about being a slob?
Well,
what's attractive about having rolls of fat
Well, some
on
people
your stomach?
find different types of people attractive, and it's not really for you to set the tone on that one, is it? Particularly given the way you look. I don't think you should be so obsessed with it, to be honest. But this guy, Steve Miller, I think is not going to, in any way, shape or form, get the government to adopt this kind of policy. It's ridiculous.
I think it's great. By the way, did you see, I don't know whether you ever worked on it, perhaps you were just a bit too young, but Jeremy Thorpe's died.
Yes.
What a controversial politician
he was. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. Now, that music can only mean one thing. It is that time of the week when we seek the guidance of the Porkmeister on what to watch on TV. What have you been up to with the television sets this week? In fact, did you end up buying more TVs? Because you said last week that, when they were all going to be on sale, you might pick up 2 or 3 more.
Well, I didn't go out on Black Friday and buy them because I didn't want to get into a punch-up.
That was awful, wasn't it?
It was disgusting. Yeah. I mean, the way that people were scrabbling around there, pushing each other around, all that kind of stuff.
Shocking.
Quite disgusting. And clearly a new sales ploy for people who want to sell stuff. Oh, get the general public into a scrum-like state. You know what I mean?
£2.5 billion was spent over the course of the weekend. Incredible.
Yeah. Now I've been in front of the telly a bit since I last saw you. Yeah, well, since we last spoke about Porky Vision, but. What I've had to do is I've had to catch up on Coronation Street, and it has been very exciting.
Has it?
Oh, very exciting.
Because the last time you and I spoke about Coronation Street, a few weeks ago maybe, you were saying that you thought we'd gone off the boil a little bit.
It's come right back on the boil.
Has it?
Dropped all the daft plots about community centres and silly little romances which might or might not happen, and got stuck into the murder.
Oh, yeah.
Which is brilliant, because...
You're not going to give anything away here, by the way, are you?
No, these are past episodes.
Okay,
I watched it about a week behind.
Okay.
So this has all happened. Don't worry.
Good.
I mean, I know there is a new trend, a new vogue to store your programmes and watch them later.
Right.
But everybody will have seen this one. But it's absolutely brilliant stuff because... Peter got convicted for the murder, but didn't do it.
Right.
Then I thought, of course, he was facing, life in jail, 22 years or something like that, for a crime he didn't commit. This suddenly pricked the conscience of the wife he cheated on.
Oh, yeah.
She thought he couldn't have done it. I know him because I was married to him. She then does her own detective work and finds out her own brother had committed the murder against her best friend, which made it doubly duplicitous.
Right.
She shopped him.
Shopped her own brother?
Shopped her own brother.
That takes some doing, doesn't it?
And guess where she shopped him? At his wedding. He was about to get married to Tracy. Mind you, Tracy...
Thank goodness they've done away with the ridiculous plots.
Well, Tracy, who he's getting married to, she got out on appeal after being sentenced to life for murdering her last boyfriend.
So she murdered somebody as well?
Yeah, she's murdered somebody, yes, a pair of murderers. Literally a pair of murderers. And never sort of came out in the script that they were a pair of murderers, you know what I mean?
Right.
But anyway...
So is Peter going to get off now, then?
Well, what happens is, Rob, who is the real killer, does a runner from the church, and by the way, did the boy sprint. He was like Usain Bolt going down that driveway away from the church, OK? So then, police come along and arrest everybody. What's going on here? It becomes clear that Rob is the murderer. So then, Peter is told they're going to be a review of his case, right?
He's still in prison at this point.
He's still in prison at this point, getting beaten up by Jim. So he is. Jim, so he is. Jim, the landlord. Jim's known as the landlord inside prison.
Is he?
Because he gets all the free hooch. No, he gets all the hooch that he
Is he a pirate?
No, he's from Northern Ireland. Sorry. If you've ever been to Belfast, Jim has. So he has. Elizabeth now. So
this
I have.
explanation's almost as long as the entire episode.
Yeah, but anyway, hang on. So old Jim, was beating up Peter in prison. Sounded like the West Country, actually.
It did.
And Peter now won't get beaten up any longer. He's going to get out. Meanwhile, Rob goes on the run. But Rob contacts Tracy, the woman who's going to marry.
Yeah.
Oh, I love you. And then there's a twist in the plot. Because Tracy's then seen at home packing a bag. She's got a little girl, who she's got to look after. And her father is Ken Barlow. Right. So, Ken, very famous, longest-serving Coronation Street character and actor, William Roach.
Yeah.
And she sneaks out the back door and she's away. So, and then they see her scramble into a car and whoosh, she's screaming out. And they say, she's going after Rob, OK?
Who's now in hiding, presumably.
In hiding. But the twist of the plot is they meet in a derelict warehouse and you think that they're going to run off together when all of a sudden she confesses she has shopped him to the police as well.
So they know he's there?
Yes, because she's told them.
Right.
Because there's a very sort of sneaky scene where just before she does a runner from the house with the bag, you think she's running off with Rob, she whispers into her phone, OK, let's do it. But, of course, in hindsight, you realise she's talking to the police.
So they turn up.
They turn up. He's arrested. He's now in Nick. But she's a murderer anyway, so why did she shop her boyfriend, who's a murderer?
Maybe she wants a fresh start.
Maybe she wants a fresh start and all that kind of stuff. It was a brutal murder, because I remember back to the episode when it was. First of all, he pushed Tina, lovely girl. I think the name of the girl who plays her, the actress Kerrigan. Or Keegan. Michelle Keegan.
Uh-huh.
Michelle Keegan? Yeah, Michelle Keegan. Yeah, I think that's right, it. Yeah. Pushed her off the balcony, right? Says it's an accident.
Sounds very brutal, this show now.
Yeah, it is brutal, yeah. But when she's lying, sort of incapacitated but not dead on the cobbled street below, she says, I'm going to tell the police you tried to kill me now, because what she's got against him is that he's discovered Tina, the girl who's been pushed over the balcony, having an affair with Peter.
I don't think I can keep up with this.
No, you probably can't, because Carla is married to Peter, you see.
Right.
And Rob is Carla's brother.
It's very complicated.
Anyway, he goes down with a lead pipe and bang, knocks her over the head and kills her.
Right.
And
so you're saying, anyway, Coronation Street is back, basically?
I think it's really good. Again. I think it's excellent. Yeah.
And have they got a Christmas special coming up then? Because most of them have, haven't they?
Well, it's on 3 or 4 times a week anyway, so why would they have a Christmas special? Downton's having a Christmas special.
With George Clooney in it.
George Clooney's in it, that's right, I saw that, yeah. Well, so, that's looking good. So anyway, that's a review of what's happening on telly this week.
No, it's not. That's only one show.
Well, yeah.
Is that the only thing you watched?
It is the most watched show.
There must be something else you saw as well.
I don't think I did, actually, this week. I didn't even watch another episode of Grantchester, so I can't tell you anything about that.
Oh, well, that's good.
What else did I see? Oh, I tell you what I saw. I did actually saw an episode, believe it or not, while I was filling in my one of my tax forms this week. Saw an episode of George and Mildred. Do you remember that?
George and Mildred's ancient, isn't it?
Sorry?
George and Mildred's ancient, isn't it?
Oh, it's about 35 years old.
Yeah.
I think, well, Eutha Joyce is certainly dead. Now, Eutha Joyce was Mildred in that show. And she first appeared in Man About the House.
Right.
Which was a show about Richard Sullivan.
Yeah.
O'Sullivan.
I
Richard
think it was,
O'Sullivan. Yeah. And living with two girls, one of whom was Sally Thompson, who was extremely beautiful, and the other one was Paul, somebody with the big eyes.
Yes, Paula with the big eyes, yeah.
You know, Paula Wilcox. Paula Wilcox, big eyes. Right, now, and I mean, literally, that's not a euphemism. She literally had huge, saucer-like eyes.
Yeah.
A lovely girl. And
why were you watching George and Mildred?
Well, it was just on the telly. Something else had finished and it came on. Oh, I watched a bit of Kojak as well, but I'll tell you that in a minute. And anyway, so Eutha Joyce and George, who lived downstairs, who were the landlords, became such prominent characters, they did a spin-off show called George and Mildred. But after the first series of George and Mildred, Eutha Joyce died very suddenly. And it was such a shame, because you love the actress, but when they explored her background, they found she was a chronic alcoholic who used to drink a bottle of brandy a day on the set, which she kept hidden in her handbag.
Right.
Which is a bit of a pity, really, isn't it?
Isn't it? Yeah.
You know, it's sad life, really, and all that, because she never appeared. Do you know...
Do you recognise the music?
George and Mildred. Excellent.
There it is.
Excellent, well done. Did you know that J.R. Ewing, in his rail persona, that is...
Larry Hagman.
Was chronic alcoholic as well.
He was. He used to drink an awful lot of bourbon, I think.
Bottle of whiskey a day. Bottle of whiskey a day. And, of course, he ended up having a liver transplant, didn't he?
He did. And also, one of the things that I thought I'd ask you about was the fact that yesterday in all the papers they said that there's going to be even more repeats on this Christmas than ever before. So you'll be able to watch all that sort of stuff, no doubt, when you're sitting around the family fireplace.
I mean, does anybody sit down and watch Christmas telly together anymore?
I don't think they do anymore, actually.
I don't think they do.
No.
I don't think they do. You get a box set and watch something like that, get a film or something like that. Watch Downton, I suppose, because that's a special everybody likes. But I don't really blame the TV companies for putting on all the garbage at Christmas, because people have got other things to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you think so?
I think very few people actually now watch television when it's on. They watch it when it's not on.
Do you ever go out for Christmas lunch?
No, never.
Why?
Because I don't think it's the sort of thing that you should do. Christmas lunch is supposed to be at home. It's supposed to be a family thing. I don't like the idea of going out to a restaurant or a pub for it.
Well, the reason I don't is because I think it's deplorable not to allow the catering staff on Christmas Day to have a day off.
Well, they get paid very well for it, though, if they decide
to
volunteer to do it.
That's irrelevant. A lot of them have to do it because it's written into their contract. You are working on Christmas Day, which I think is deplorable. I don't think pubs should be open on Christmas Day. I think it's shocking to see people pouring off down to the pub on Christmas Day.
They can open, can't they?
No, we should not open pubs on Christmas Day. I mean, what happens in most households, including mine, I have to add, but I refuse to join in, is that the male contingent said, "Oh, look, you girls get on with making the lunch, which it's the best lunch of the year. Yeah. It's such an extensive one, little those little sausages wrapped up in little bits of bacon and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, all that kind of stuff, and stuffing and all that kind of stuff, and sprouts and carrots and all that kind of stuff. And while all the women folk are getting on with that, the men folk push off down the pub, and it's all hail thing and well met. What's that called?
Hail fellow well met.
Hail fellow well met and all that kind of stuff. And it's like a big boozer.
Sounds very sexist, that.
It is very sexist, that's what I'm saying. It's a big boozer on Christmas morning. I think it's absolutely disgraceful.
So you won't be doing that then?
Definitely not.
Do you boycott it?
I do boycott it, yeah.
You stay at home?
I do stay at home.
And help with the cooking?
I do, and I think you should kill all that, because pubs should close on Christmas Day. I mean, to be honest, I wouldn't have a problem with pubs closing on a Sunday. Like they do in
where would you go then?
Good parts of Wales. Well, you don't have to go to a pub on a Sunday, do you?
No, you don't have to go to a pub at all.
But particularly on a Sunday. There are some parts of Wales now which don't open on a Sunday. In fact, when I was a youngster and we played football in places like Colwyn Bay, and Carnarvon. No, I think they were open.
At the time, by the way.
Yeah, there was some Sundays when the pubs weren't open, and we had to drive 20 miles to find a pub open at lunchtime after we played football on a Sunday morning. How about that?
That's after you saying you don't need to go to a pub on a Sunday. We've got a stop there. We are the Two Mikes as it talks sport. That was the Two Mikes podcast.
Yes, it certainly was. Don't forget, it's out every Tuesday and every Friday morning on iTunes.
And you can follow us at the Two Mikes.
So keep listening for more of MG's loose morals. Believe me, this boy hasn't got a moral fibre in his body.
And more of his bizarre buffoonery.
What?
Do you expect me to talk, Goldfinger?
No, Mr. Bond. I expect you to die. Bzzz.